The Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 may be fated, may be destined, may be karmic, but it also is quite confusing. This is a lunation of paradoxes. See, this solar eclipse is a new moon, which signals a new beginning that is taking shape and form for you and for the collective at large. Yet, it is on the south node, which signals release and letting go. This lunation opposes Saturn, the planet of reality and bounds, and Neptune, the planet of fantasy and dissolving those bounds. We are wrapping up Virgo season, a sign of our physical, tangible reality and experience, yet North Node in Pisces is nudging us to remember the spiritual essence within this physical, tangible experience. It's a lunation of opposites, of paradoxes, of a juxtaposition. It's a bit messy, and if there's one thing that Virgo season does not like, that's a mess. As we explore South Node in Virgo as a transit and close out Virgo season, it's important to know that Virgo energy so deeply wants to categorize, analyze, dissect, put things in boxes. It is either black or white. It is either good or bad. It is either right or wrong. And North Node in Pisces is reminding us that this experience is messy, it's nuanced, it's layered. There can be certain experiences that we go through that were unpleasant and unsavory, yet if we extracted a positive lesson from it, does that make it a bad experience? If it led us to exactly where we are meant to be, we can have something new enter into our life, and even though it's good, there will be aspects of it that are hard, that are challenging. So is it a bad turn of events? There's in between, there's murkiness. Things within this experience do not neatly fit into categories as much as we may want them to, as much as our minds may want them to. And Virgo energy so deeply wants a plan. It has a certain idea how things should go. And there could be an energy of helplessness when things do not unfold exactly in accordance to our plan. And there could be a strong temptation for you with the solar eclipse in Virgo to deem any deviation from your plan as this is going wrong. This is bad. But it's important to take a step back. It may look bad, wrong, not according to plan at this particular moment in time, but North Node in Pisces reminds us there's a much bigger story at play. And it may not be going in accordance to your plan, but it's always going in accordance to the divine's plan, especially during eclipse season. The matters that are transpiring at this time are bigger than us. Will you remember? Virgo energy so wants to quantify and categorize this experience around what's physical and what's tangible, which, yes, is a component of this experience, but it is not the entire part. And when we start talking in terms of spirit and divinity and fate and destiny, it transcends language and categories and analyzing things as good or bad. And so when it comes to this lunation and really any other transit, oftentimes I will hear via comments or from my clients, Haley, is this a good or a bad thing? Are things going to get better and worse? And the answer to that is both. The answer to that is neither. The answer to that is somewhere in between, the messy in between, which oftentimes we as human beings do not like that messy in between. But where is it that you can surrender? To its core, the Virgo solar eclipse is around surrendering. Surrendering to spirit, surrendering to the divine's plan, even if it entails some harsh reality checks with the opposition to Saturn, and energy of being a bit disillusioned with the opposition to Neptune. Can you work the muscle in trusting in what is bigger than you with North Node in Pisces and this solar eclipse sextile Jupiter in Cancer? Within this video, we will be exploring the 5 things that you need to know about this Virgo solar eclipse, the themes that it could bring to the surface within our collective forecast. I deeply recommend checking that out to get familiar with the bulk of this transit, and then we'll take it into our house by house, sign by sign analysis. I also have a tutorial to figure out which reading that you should listen to, all of which will be in my timestamps below. And that individual reading will help you figure out the exact arena of your life that you are being asked to release the plan, surrender to what is. But if this is your first time stopping by my cosmic corner of the internet, hi, I want to introduce myself. My name is Haley Comet. I'm an astrologer who's passionate about not just telling you about the astrology, but empowering you through the astrology. Certainly there are transits and cycles and rhythms that are at play, but it's important to see where it is that you are learning from it, the gift in it, it, the lesson in it, as well as just tuning into these bigger cycles. Because even if it's unpleasant, unsavory, the South Node in Virgo transit, this Virgo solar eclipse, tuning into the astrological big picture helps us take a step back to recognize the purpose in it all, or at the very least, it's part of a particular cycle, and this particular moment in time will pass. So if that style of astrology resonates with you, I would so love to earn your subscription. I do all signs forecasts here on the channel, as well as a weekly horoscope called Magic Monday, available here on YouTube, as well as anywhere where you stream podcasts. If you gain any value from this video, liking, commenting, sharing with a friend to get them prepared for eclipse season really means so much to me. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the Virgo Solar Eclipse September 21st, 2025. The Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 exacts at 12:54 p.m. PDT. But that particular moment in time is not where the energy is neatly sequestered and boxed within. You will likely feel a lot of these themes as we go towards it and as we move away from it. And it's considered that eclipse energy continues to ripple and reverberate. So it really is a bigger story than this particular moment in time. But yes, this is when the solar eclipse exacts. And it is a new moon exacting at 29 degrees Virgo on the South Node. So let's unpack this. The first thing that you need to know around the Virgo solar eclipse is that there is good and goodbye. This is a solar eclipse, which is an eclipse on the new moon. Now, when it comes to lunar eclipses, like the Pisces lunar eclipse we just had, you can check out my forecast for that within the description. It's important to see the bigger story at play. But it's important to know that lunar eclipses tend to be a little bit more personal and a little bit more individual, culminations and ahas emerging within our lives. Solar eclipses tend to be a little bit more collective, tend to be more societal. That's not to say they don't have tremendous individual meaning, especially if you have a placement that's being strongly aspected by this eclipse. We'll get into the nuances of that shortly, but it's considered, it's bigger than us. It's more external. So there is this energy around it's bigger than us. Yes, to a spiritual soul level with North Node Pisces, but also other humans, other cycles, just generationally, societally, collectively, what we are moving through. And yes, new moons do represent new beginnings, new cycles, yet this solar eclipse is on the South Node, which is around release and shedding. And when you think of certain goodbyes that you've had to make within your life, when you quit a job, when you leave a relationship, when you move, it's that murkiness of the in-between, like I was talking about before, where it's good and bad. It's good that this new chapter is transpiring within your world, but it's also bad because it entails letting go of what was familiar. There's so much bittersweet within this experience that cannot be neatly categorized into one particular bucket. To be perfectly honest with you, some of you may find around this time, you are having to let something go. And there is a grieving in that. And for some of you, it could be something literal within your life, a job, a relationship, a friendship, a city, or a habit, an indulgence, a vice with this Virgo energy. And there is an element around, okay, this is for my highest and best good, that I am no longer having this within my daily routine, but that doesn't mean that I won't crave it. That doesn't mean that I won't miss it and miss having it within my life. One of my favorite musical artists is Lana Del Rey. And I remember her talking about how a lot of her early catalog of music was written to her first love, which was not a person, but actually a vice, like drinking. Like a lot of her love songs were around drinking. Like that was her first love lost. And we can think that love and heartache is just neatly sequestered into relationships. But like I said, with gray area and murkiness, we can experience heartache around letting go of all sorts of things, whether it's a city, whether it's a vice. And to recognize maybe this is best for my health, this is best for my life, this is best for the direction that I'm going in, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't suck. And with this Virgo solar eclipse, it's important to know that there is good within goodbye, that whatever is being swept out, cleared out, vacuumed out with the energy of Virgo, it always makes me think of cleaning, out of your life is clearing space. We can hold and cling to all sorts of things within our life that are not serving us because we are so fearful of the liminal space, so fearful of the moment of silence, that we don't have this vice, this person, this city to fill it. We can fear that moment when we are letting go of one branch and we have not yet grabbed the next branch, as though we're a monkey or something like this. Like, we can fear that in between around, will I be caught? And will anything ever come to replace it? Will my life just turn into a void of nothingness? And that fear of being in that void of nothingness or not having something else that comes into our life can keep us in places and spaces that we no longer belong or are no longer for our highest and best good, or when we talk about eclipses, has outlived its purpose. But we're so scared of the in-between. We're so scared of being in the hallway, so to speak, around, I know I don't belong in this room anymore. I know I'm uncomfortable in this room. I know this room is not aligned. It feels spiritually misaligned. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself into it with all of this Mercury energy of Virgo around. Well, it makes sense. This is the room that you've always been in. You should be here. And we can fear those transitions, that in between, so much that it keeps us in places and spaces that have outlived their purpose within our life. Fearing the hallway, the space that links room to room, so much that we stay in rooms that we've outgrown. Because it's like, what if there's no other rooms on the other side of this hallway? What if there's just nothingness? We could fear that void, that in between, that space when the next thing has not arisen. We can fear that so much that sometimes we cling, we stay, we wear out our welcome, so to speak. And sometimes the universe pushes us into the hallway, pushes us towards the next branch or towards the next chapter, which sometimes can be uncomfortable. This solar eclipse opposes Saturn. So there is this energy around harsh reality checks, harsh goodbyes that are really just new beginnings disguised. And it's important to really see it that way, to not fear the in-between or that space of creation. We know the moon's there, but we cannot see it. What would it look like to navigate through your life with the utmost of faith? That in your vantage point, when you look up at the moon, it may look like it's not there, but what would it look like to really trust around the moon exists? It's just not within my field of vision. You know, Virgo energy goes by what is here and now, what we can see, what we can touch. And the energy of North Node Pisces is around, there's bigger cycles. You just can't see the new moon right now. This is representative of a blank canvas. Just because the canvas is blank right now does not mean that it's going to be blank forever. Step out of your framework of viewing things in terms of what is right now in order to tune into these bigger cycles, this bigger story that is at play. And know that truly, if something is departing your life at this particular moment in time, it is setting you up for a new beginning that may be quite bittersweet. Some of you could feel like you are being nudged towards this move, towards this new chapter in your own independence, towards this new lifestyle, this new habit, against your own volition. You know, sometimes we get eclipsed during eclipses, which are when these major changes or goodbyes are forced upon us. And it's going to be important wherever possible to trust that there is good and goodbye, even if you cannot see it at this particular moment in time. If it happens around this eclipse, it is setting you up for a bigger story. But in order to surrender to that, you do have to let go. If you have claw marks digging into something that actively seems like it's trying to get away from you, let it go. Surrender. Try easy. Truly, what is meant for you will never pass you. And we can convince ourselves within our mind around, well, this was supposed to be perfect, and I've decided this and I've decided that. But if something is trying to be let go from your life at this particular moment in time, there is an ask to let it go. If it's truly meant to be yours, it will come back around. But there is a bigger story at play around this idea of trying easy or releasing or not forcing or trying to control, which leads me to our next point, which is that you are not a failure if something did not work out. Do you know how many entrepreneurs failed spectacularly and numerously before they started the company that was successful for them? Again, if you were to zero in on one of their first businesses, you would call them a flop. You would say that they flopped, but there's bigger stories. It's around zooming out with North Node Pisces and not beating yourself up for what things look like right now, whether that is your bank account, your love life, your social life, your habits, whatever it is. It's coming back to the truth that you are so much more than this particular moment in time. And I do feel a lot of individuals may be making some difficult decisions at this time. Maybe you have a certain side hustle, or you've been trying to get something off the ground, and this particular lunation is around, I feel like I'm efforting, I feel like I'm forcing, I feel like I'm trying and all I'm getting is resistance. What would happen if I let go? And not seeing it as giving up. You know, there is such a difference between something that is aligned for us, that yes, we feel challenged within. It's not to say that any path is easy, but there's such a difference between feeling challenged versus feeling utter resistance, hitting a dead end at every corner, and really trying to bring something into life by pure force. And this lunation might be a time around, you know, I've tried, I've pushed, I had this plan and it didn't work out. And I don't need to beat myself up around that. I don't need to be hard on myself around that. I'm allowed to try a side hustle. If it didn't work out, I can let it go. I don't need to integrate it to mean something about me. I don't need to see myself as a failure because of this particular moment in time. And I really want you to be conscious of that, because the solar eclipse opposes Neptune, who is sitting at 0 degrees Aries. 0 degrees Aries is the very first degree of the first sign of the zodiac. It all begins at 0 degrees Aries, and Neptune is around dreaming and visioning. So it's never a failure if you tried something new, learned something new, again, chiseled certain skill sets that you will take with you. It's never a waste of time. You are here to experience life, and we learn a lot and we experience a lot through our failures, through our messy first drafts with the energy of Aries, jumping into something and then maybe deciding this is not for me, or I'm experiencing a lot of resistance here. But why I bring this up is because Aries has a lot to do with identity, and Neptune is around our vision. So also when you hold yourself within the self-concept around I am a loser, I am a lame, that can really poison your own becoming. And so it's really important to separate your identity from your failures around, rather than seeing yourself around, I'm a loser, I'm a flop, I'm a failure, really seeing yourself, I'm a winner, I'm a hero who is currently undergoing some trials and tribulations. Again, North Node Pisces, zoom out, tune into the bigger story. You are so much more than what is alive at this particular moment in time, and be very conscious where you allow ways of seeing yourself and defining yourself to absorb into your identity, your way of being. With the energy of Neptune and Aries, who we think we are, we become. So being very intentional how you define yourself, how you see yourself. And even if you're having to let something go, you're having to let go of a relationship, you are not a failure for a relationship not working out. You simply learned what you needed to learn. It outlived its purpose within your life, and it's time to let it go. You do not need to bring this baggage around, I'm this horrible partner and I'm the worst person ever, into your next adventure. Same goes with any sort of business endeavor or anything within your life that didn't work out. Even if you're currently undergoing financial obstacles or a legal battle or a health issue, like, it's important to know the truth of who it is that you are is so much bigger than how things look at this particular moment in time. And to be very conscious how you define yourself around really striving not to see yourself as a victim of a situation, or striving to see yourself as a fundamentally unhealthy person, or to see yourself as a bad partner, or anything else that has wormed its way into your mind. Being very conscious. I am a healthy person filled with vitality who is currently undergoing health issues. I am a wealthy, abundant soul who is currently navigating financial issues. Whatever it is, Virgo energy tends to kind of pick at the issues within our day-to-day experience in this physical reality. And it's important not to let that infect your way of seeing yourself. This particular moment in time will pass, and the truth of who you are is so much bigger than what your life looks like at this moment in time. And the energy of Virgo is very concerned around effort and trying, which leads me to the next item that you must know with this Virgo solar eclipse. Let go of perfectionism. It is draining your energy. It is taking up your time. It is, for many individuals, worming its way into your overall self-concept. Let go of this idea of being perfect. You are allowing this pressure to be perfect keep you from being great. Again, this lunation may have its challenges with opposition to Saturn. It's not my ideal time to launch something or start something with its proximity to the South Node. Again, there are new beginnings, but it could be kind of symbolic, or a blank slate, a new canvas that you don't yet feel quite inspired to paint on. But even with that, the solar eclipse is opposing Neptune in Aries, and Neptune is positioned at the first degree of the first sign of Aries. And this is a very raw, impulsive, initiative sign. We learn a lot from our messy first draft. We learn a lot from not being perfect at something. And sometimes we put so much pressure that we need to be good at something right away, successful at something right away, that we need to be perfect, that we don't even allow ourselves try things to see if we even like it, to get our feet wet and decide where to go from there. You know, there's a lot of power within a messy first draft. Don't allow this misguided ideal of the flawless executed novel keep you from putting the first words on the page. Let go of being perfect. Be you. North Node in Pisces is around witnessing and recognizing that in the eyes of the divine, your magic is around being wholly and authentically yourself and following your soul's nudge. And sometimes our idea of perfection is what we think will secure us admiration from others or validation from others, or even with the energy of Virgo, what will make us feel useful or helpful around, well, I'm good at this. I can't be of use to anyone if it's not perfect, if it's not ideal. And I know we hear this all of the time, at least I most certainly do. But if you struggle with imposter syndrome, just remember that there are individuals who are an eighth as qualified as you are and a fourth as talented as you are, out there doing what you want to do because they dared to try. They dared to go for it. They dared to initiate. And it's not to say that there is not value of precision and consistency and showing up and honing our craft. I find a lot of value in that, absolutely. But South Node Virgo is making us really look at where it is that we are self-sabotaging under this guise of it needs to be perfect, or keeping ourselves from going in the directions that we feel soulfully called to, because if we moved in the direction of what we really cared about and we were criticized or it was not perfect, then we would feel, to my earlier point, we would feel like a failure. And we can keep ourselves safe by not going the direction of what really means something to us. Because if we do try it and we're not good at it, we're not perfect, then what? Then where do we go? And in addition to the perfectionist, I also feel like this is a solar eclipse that's really speaking to the overachievers. And if you have been someone where it never felt acceptable to just be ordinary, you felt like you had to be extraordinary in order to deserve love, in order to be good enough. You felt like you had to win. You felt like you needed to excel. That sort of mentality does lead to burnout. And I feel like the solar eclipse acknowledges that. With opposition to Saturn, chasing this ideal of perfectionism or being the best will lead you to burnout. Especially if soulfully you don't want to be there. That's not where you want to excel. It's just what you think it means to excel or to be perfect. You know, Saturn's in Pisces currently, which can signal this theme of spiritual burnout, which comes when we are not in it. Maybe we're showing up with our body, we're showing up with our mind, we're showing up with our skill set, but our soul so deeply wants to be in another room or doing something different or on a different path. But we're forcing ourselves because we need to be great. We need to be excellent. It's not safe for us to try something and be bad at it. What will that mean? I feel like perfectionism and being an overachiever a lot of times can be a really great way to self-sabotage and a really great way to keep people at bay, because there is this energy around, I need to be great to be loved. I need to be great in order to be admired. And sometimes when you release this nudge around, I don't need to be great and perfect and excellent, I just need to be me. Sometimes when we let that go, the overachieving, the perfectionism, we step into that authenticity around sometimes showing up messily, coloring outside of the lines sometimes, but trusting that people will still value us. People will still see us. Sometimes that overachieving perfectionist sort of mentality can be a veneer that keeps us safe around, why wouldn't people love me and value me? I'm succeeding. I'm excelling. But where that gets dangerous is that if we affirm that people love me because I'm successful, people love me because I'm useful and helpful and I'm good at this, people love me because I'm perfect at this, we additionally affirm the opposite. People will not love me if I am not perfect, if I am not excelling, if I am not winning. And that can be so harmful for our self-concept to build our life upon this ideal of perfection, success, because nobody slays 24/7. Nobody wins all of the time. North Node in Pisces is around honoring the cycles of life, the ups and the downs, and the messiness of the in-between. And if you feel like you have to be perfect in order to feel accepted, you feel like you have to be achieving in order to be loved, that can be harmful. And it really erodes so much out of this experience, this quest for perfection. Some have this quest for perfection ravage their mental health. Some have it ravage their physical health. Some people have it infiltrate certain elements of their life that are sacred to them. And it's just kind of driven by this energy around it's never enough. Because ultimately, when we're striving for perfection in an imperfect world, when we're striving to win all of the time in a world that is comprised of wins and losses, we're setting ourselves up to fail. So the milestones will never be enough. We will always fall short because there's this inherent never-ending quest for perfection, yet being met with your own mortality time and time again, being met with your own imperfection time and time again, which then leads you to internalize. I've got to try harder. I've got to do more. I've got to be more. And it's never enough, whether that pressure is coming from outside of you or within you. The relentless pressure to be perfect is destructive all of the same. And there's a difference between striving to be your best or striving to really extract every bit of talent and gift that you have within to be the best that you possibly can be, to chisel all of the gifts that you have out of the marble block that you came here as to this planet, to be the best that you can be. This is a soulful aim. This is what North Node Pisces is wanting you to move towards. But there's a difference between showing up for that soul's calling versus feeling like I'm only valuable if, I'm only helpful if, I'm only worthy if, because Virgo energy does find a lot of its value around being of service to other humans and taking care of the physical elements of your day-to-day life. But there's just a reminder to come back to the bigger picture of it. That when it's time for you to go, when it's time for you to return back to spirit form, right? Pisces energy brings that to the surface. You will not get a medal at the end of your life because you dared to stay below a certain number on the scale your entire life. You will not get a medal because you never got below an A in university. You won't get a medal because you stayed at the office late until midnight more than anybody else around you. Like, you will not get a medal. If you want to make those decisions, if that is in alignment with your soul's path and you are doing it to extract the most you out of you and to answer your soul's call and to make the most use of the talents and gifts that God, universe, divine gave you, that's one thing. But if you are doing it in this name of worshiping at the altar of perfection, a fruitless deity that actively siphons your joy from you, this may be the solar eclipse to release that. And it's not so easy to release the habits of being a workaholic or really controlling yourself, feeling like you're only worthy if you are perfect. And this is easier said than done. If you watch my forecast, you may know that I'm a Virgo moon and rising. We'll get into the signs that may feel this eclipse the most. Spoiler alert, my fellow Virgo placements, we might be feeling this quite a bit. And I have a tendency when I'm filming, and my editor can attest to this, I will repeat the same phrase, the same statement over and over and over again because it's not quite right, or I could have said this, I could have said that. And certainly there's a beautiful quality in Virgo around this desire for excellence and to want to be the best of ourselves. But there's such a murky line between this desire for excellence and this desire for perfection, and like wasting our time, in my case, repeating the line or redoing it or waiting to debut it. It skewed away from this pursuit of excellence and into almost this neurotic repetition of a sort. I mean, I would film for hours and hours and hours, and I'm still working on this. Maybe post solar eclipse in Virgo, I'll get a little bit better. But I would film for hours and hours and hours. The room that I film in is like the hottest room in my house. So a lot of times I would be so uncomfortable, not eating, not drinking water in this effort to be perfect, worshiping at the altar of perfectionism, chasing something that is actively running from me. When I try easy, when I just allow myself to be me rather than feeling like I have to be excellent or be perfect, it's so much better for my energy. And some people may look at it and be like, that's not for me, or she talks too much, or she's a little all over the place. But that's fine because arising to my soul's calling and you arising to your soul's calling, it will not be for everyone. You were not made for everyone. Your birth chart is not for everyone. Your offerings are not for everyone. And sometimes this energy of perfectionism is around wanting to be perfect for everybody, wanting to give everybody what it is that they need. And North Node Pisces is almost letting go of this energy of perfection or always being on or always being excellent around, I'm just me. I'm just the soul that I incarnated as, and I can show up for my gifts. I can chisel my talents. I could do the best that I can, but I have a limited amount of time and energy. I have a limited amount of time within this physical vessel and this experience. And I'm no longer allowing it to be siphoned through repeating things over and over in this effort of perfection or going over the same draft over and over and over again. And I'm no longer giving it any more energy, obsessing and ruminating around how things could be better and how I'm not good enough. In this one wild and wonderful life, getting to be this soul, this person, that's not what I'm putting my energy towards. North Node Pisces does signal this energy of being in flow. And oftentimes when I'm really in the flow, really channeling and downloading, it all just flows from me and through me. And I don't feel that pressure that I need to repeat, that I need to get it just right. Because in the divine's eyes, everything is unfolding as it's meant to. And the more that I can allow myself to get out of my own way of the trying and the efforting and just allow things to be as they are, to allow the words to come through as they are meant to allow the moment to be as it is, the less hustling and forcing and controlling that we feel. So our next point that I want to share on this Virgo solar eclipse is around surrendering and interacting with each moment as though you had chosen it. You know, Pisces Virgo axis is interesting because Virgo chases perfection, yet perfection is always out of reach. And Pisces energy lets go of this notion of perfection and finds it everywhere. And this is not me saying that Pisces is a perfect sign. It has more than its fair share of challenges and hurdles. But the energy of Pisces is very spiritual. And when we recognize the spiritual truth of this experience, we see that it's all as it should be. Even if it's not right, it's not according to plan, the Pisces energy is around, it's all for a bigger reason. And it's like actively striving to see the gift within everything. Again, some people could feel like this is a really hard solar eclipse with its opposite to Saturn. Harsh endings, sad goodbyes, having to let something go, having an era close. So I'm not saying you have to rush to the lesson or swim to the gift right away. It will all happen in due time. But with the energy of Pisces, it's recognizing the perfection of this experience. And that's not to say that there is not suffering and sorrow. Saturn is in Pisces. It's recognizing this quite a bit, but it's seeing things from the bigger scheme and the bigger cycles of things. And really seeking to make every moment perfect. And I don't mean that around, I've got to be perfect and execute this perfect and look perfect and be perfect in order to be enough, what have you. I don't mean it like that. It's just around, hey, this didn't work out. How could this actually be working out for me? How could this actually be aligning on my behalf? The more that you interact with life like that, the more that you do find the gift or find the lesson around this plan was canceled, but it opened up my time and energy to do this instead. Maybe we went to this picnic and we forgot to bring the speaker, but now we get to listen to the nature sounds and it's all aligning. There is an energy to surrender to each moment as though you had chosen it and not feel like the moment needs to be something different. Because that's the energy of Virgo. How can I be the best version of myself? How can I improve? How can I get more healthy? How can I get more fit? How can I get more intelligent? How can I solve this problem? A lovely energy, right? We want to be all that we came here to be. But the energy of North Node Pisces is around sometimes just surrendering. Sometimes problems get fixed if you do nothing about it. Sometimes you find what you were looking for when you stop looking. Sometimes when you don't take on other people's problems as though they are your own, they figure out their own answers. With North Node Pisces, there is this ask to trust in the cycles and know that not everything needs to be micromanaged or handled by us. You know, you have the universe as your co-pilot. And I'm not saying this in a way to be complacent within this experience or to procrastinate or to escape, but it's trusting that things do work themselves out. So if you reach some sort of point where you're like, there is nothing more that I can do. I've done everything that I could do to prepare. I've done everything that I could do to handle this sort of situation. At a certain point, you have to just recognize it is in God's hands, the divine's hands. And I'm of the belief that you cannot pray and worry at the same time, that worrying really is a waste of your valuable time and energy. And it's natural, of course, within this human experience to worry. But the energy of North Node Pisces is around seeing where it is that you can give it up to divinity. I tried all that I can. Where is it that I can surrender? Where can I release this? And what's interesting is that within that release, it may not come at this particular moment in time, but you will find that with this release, the problems, the issues, the obstacles will get solved. And not everything requires our direct intervention. Virgo energy could feel like if I don't solve this problem, it won't get solved. If I don't do this, it won't get done. And obviously there's rules of physics and reality around cause and effect. But with the energy of North Node Pisces, it's recognizing that there's more than just what meets the eye. There's more than just the physical bounds of this experience. There's divinity. There's mystery. In preparing for this video, I found this rhodonite bracelet. I have no idea who gave this to me. I do not remember ever receiving this, and I just found it. And again, the Virgo part of me kind of wants to obsess around where did it come from? It had to arrive here somehow. But the energy of North Node Pisces is around, well, it's here now. There's mysteries at play, and I was meant to have it. On that note, there's a reason why you are here. And it does not require being perfect. It does not require always being of service to other individuals. I actually see for some, you could be letting go of some sort of position, or if you own your own business, a certain offering that you were of service. You were helping other individuals, but you're just feeling a soul calling within another direction. There is a theme of sacrifice encapsulated within this lunation, as well as confronting that something was not what you thought it was going to be. And that's okay. That leads me to the final point that I want to express around the Virgo solar eclipse in terms of the general themes that all of us will experience. You gotta have the best laid plans and the best intentions, and there are just some things that are out of your hands. This is a solar eclipse. Lunar eclipses tend to be a little bit more personal and individual. Solar eclipses are a little bit bigger than us. And when we recognize that it's bigger than us, we recognize that there's cycles and rhythms and what society is going through and what humanity is going through and what inventions are coming in and what trends are coming in. There's so much that can impact our plans. And we are going to lose our minds trying to predict the unpredictable or control all of the variables, right? And Virgo energy can sometimes represent being in that analysis paralysis around wanting to make the perfect decision so much that you don't make any decision at all. It's important to highlight that this solar eclipse is positioned at 29 degrees. Some chart calculators have it as 28 degrees, 59 minutes, but regardless, it's like hovered at the final degrees of Virgo. And I mention that because there is a certain urgency embedded within specifically 29 degrees, which this eclipse is not the only planet at 29 degrees. Mars, the planet of action and assertion, is also positioned at 29 degrees Libra. And so there's this energy of like urgency in this eclipse and kind of this now or never energy. So you may witness within your orbit or other people around you, people making this decision around, I've got to unravel this business. I've got to let this habit go. I've got to release this job, like things around, maybe I didn't want to make this decision, the opposition to Saturn. This wasn't the vision with the opposition to Neptune, but it is what it is. And eclipses are always kind of charged with this energy of now or never, but that is exponentially highlighted with this specific solar eclipse. And it's knowing that you could have the best laid plans, you could do all of the surveys, and then something could happen and things could shift at any moment in time. You could move to a city and then there's new zoning laws and that city is no longer desirable for you. Or you could start a new company around something and then a new technology comes in and sweeps the market. Like, we just never know all of the variables, and Virgo energy wants to understand all of the variables and not do something unless it's perfect and unless our efforts will lead to a reward. And it's important to know that sometimes circumstances outside of our control can get in the way of our plans. And that's a bitter pill to swallow. There's a lot around this lunation that just feel like a bitter pill to swallow, that you can work so hard, you can work so tirelessly, you could do all of the research, and sometimes it still won't lead to success or the fruitful results that you wanted it to, the vision, the plan of it. It very well may, and it's worth it to try. You learn within that. But sometimes there's circumstances, there's things that are outside of your control, which can make you want to tear your hair out with the energy of the Virgo solar eclipse. And again, this was not according to plan. But what's important to know, especially with this eclipse, even if it's not in accordance to your plan, it's always in accordance to the divine's plan. And I know it could be so bitter when we have to disband our company because things changed, or we have to move back when we moved. Like, we could just feel so bitter around, why does the universe hate me? This is not a setback. This is a setup. And it's okay if you're not in that mentality at the time of this solar eclipse, because it opposes Saturn. It could just be a bit bittersweet, a bit harsh. But what I'm letting you know is that you can have the best laid plans with all of the information. You could put in so much work and effort into it, and there still may be elements of things not working out because they were not meant to be. That's the missing recipe. Virgo energy thinks if I just put in effort and I show up for it, I will get the results that I seek. But there is a quality of divinity that factors into everything, where we could put in all of the effort to find a partner, to fall in love. And there's still that Pisces energy of divinity around the right souls that come together at the right time. We could do all the efforts, we can go on all the dates, but there's still that quality of divinity. We could plant a seed and water and do all of the things, but there is something divine around growing a sprout out of nothing. Yes, it takes our physical efforts, but there is something divine around it. And Virgo energy can think, well, if I just do this, if I just do things according to plan, if I get married, if I accomplish this, if I have this timeline, I will get what it is that I desire. But a bittersweet recognition about this experience is that sometimes we just don't. And I know that can feel super depressing. Like, I should be able to have what it is that I desire. And I want you to know what is truly and honestly for you will never pass you. And I'm sure you can think of many times within your life, I know I can think of so many, of things that you were sure it's got to be this, and it didn't work out, and now you see why it did not work out. I think of some of my past career goals that I was like, 100% this is what I want to do, and I tried so hard. I hustled so hard to make them happen. And I think about what my life would have been like, and I'm like, I don't think I would have been happy doing that. Just a quick anecdote. I was a journalism major within college. It was like an emphasis in public relations, but under the umbrella of journalism. And there's a local magazine within my city. And my senior year of college, I was like, I need to be a journalist. I need to write for this magazine. I met an editor from this magazine. He came to one of my classes, and I didn't harass him in a mean way, but I just like emailed him quite a bit and like showed my work. And I was just like so persistent around so wanting to be a journalist right when I got out of college. I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't even know why I wanted to do it. I think I just wanted my name and a byline, to be totally honest with you. I do love writing, but not particularly journalistic writing. And honestly, I'd be embarrassed to look at those articles that I was sending him because I don't think they were very good. I don't think I came here to this planet to be a journalist, but at that point in time, I thought that I did. And it did not work out because I'm kind of a flop journalist, and those articles probably were not good. And he only responded to a couple of my emails, and I'm sure I was quite annoying. Sorry to that man. But now I see how everything was setting me up to get into alignment with the path that I was meant to be on. You don't want to be on a path that you're not meant to be on. You don't want to be with a person that you're not meant to be with. You don't want to be in a city that you're not meant to be in. You can desire it, but why would you want an experience that is not aligned, that is not divine? Because, when it's right, it is right. And sometimes we can force and struggle, and even mentally, this should be the city, this should be the person, but something's off. Yeah, because it's not for you. And that can have some bittersweet recognitions. Me being ghosted by the journalist, like other things like that, where it's like, dang, I really thought it was going to be this. But if it's not this, it's something better. And if it's not my plan, it's always the divine's plan. So now that we understand the 5 items that you must know around the solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025, let's go ahead and figure out which reading you should listen to for your individual Virgo solar eclipse forecast. While we as a collective are all under the same sky and experiencing a lot of the same major themes within this eclipse, each and every one of us has a unique eclipse story. And we can figure out what that story is by identifying the portion of your chart that this lunation falls within, as well as if it is more or less influential within your chart. So let's start there. Not every eclipse turns our life upside down. Some eclipses are more soft. Like for some, I'm really just seeing letting go of a mentality around perfectionism. I need to overachieve. I need to be good at something in order to find value within it. I need to always be helpful. I need to always be on and doing the most for everybody. Like, I think it's going to show up symbolically for a lot of individuals like that, around recognizing I've tried to do all that I can with opposition to Saturn. I've tried to play into your perception of me, your projection of me with opposition to Neptune, and still it wasn't enough. So I'm surrendering, caring about this, or showing up for this. For some of you, you're walking away from a job, you're walking away from a habit. The best way I can put it, because Virgo energy always gives me punctuation mark energy, some of us are having like a comma eclipse story where it might be bringing up some themes, but it's a little bit more subtle in the sentence structure. And some of us are having exclamation point, where this is like a sentence that is being exclaimed loudly and it is ending a sentence, maybe even a paragraph. Like, some of us have a more influential story than others. And I would say that this solar eclipse will be the most influential. It'll be the most exclamation point-y for those who have Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces placements or angles within their chart between 25 to 29 degrees. And before I define placements or angles, I also want to say that cardinal signs, you are not off the hook. If you have cardinal signs, that is Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn between 0 to 4 degrees, this eclipse also may be influential for you. Even though it's out of sign, if you have Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn placements or angles between those degrees, this eclipse can still be impactful for you. And to define placements or angles, if it is your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, ascendant, IC, descendant, midheaven. If one of those angles or placements lands in Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, 25 to 29 degrees, or Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, 0 to 4 degrees, this is an exclamation point. It may be more influential simply because it strongly aspects a personal placement or angle within your chart, signifying it's a little bit more of a major story. Each of us have an eclipse story, but like I said, it can vary in intensity, it can vary in drama, it could vary in volume. So let's figure out what your eclipse story is. So there's 2 ways that you can go about the rest of this video. If you are newer to astrology or you utilize whole sign house system, what you will do is you'll find your rising sign, also known as your ascendant sign. You'll look within the timestamps that I've listed within the description, and you will fast forward to the timestamp that corresponds to your rising, to your ascendant. That is your reading, that is your message, that is your Virgo solar eclipse story. If you utilize Placidus house system, I do as well. It is a little bit more tricky to figure out, but I will guide you through it with an on-screen tutorial. So I like using the website astro.com, as I have on screen here. And after inputting your birth information, you'll get a circle chart that looks something like this. And you will find the Virgo glyph. I'm circling it. It's like a green M. And this line to line represents the Virgo portion of the sky. The pieces of pizza represent the houses. So houses represent essentially life arenas within our chart. And so this particular eclipse will land at 29 degrees Virgo. So that is the last degree of Virgo. So basically look at where Virgo ends. That's where the Libra line begins. I'm circling the Libra glyph on screen now. It is yellow-orange in astro.com. So this line that distinguishes Virgo from Libra? Yeah, right around here is where this eclipse lands. So if you go towards the inner ring, notice which piece of pizza encapsulates that portion of your chart. And that will be the house reading that you will listen to. So you will go to that house reading within the description. It may be the same as your rising sign listed. It may be different, but in Placidus house system, that is the reading to listen to. So within Inner Planet Janet, our on-screen tutorial, we see that this Virgo solar eclipse lands within the 11th house. So she would go ahead and fast forward to the 11th house reading. So now that you've figured out exactly which message, which reading you should listen to, let's go ahead and take it into our house by house, sign by sign Virgo solar eclipse forecast. If the Virgo solar eclipse will land within the first house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. Some of you may be Virgo risings. Some of you may not be Virgo risings. You just have 29 degrees Virgo in your first house in Placidus house system. But whichever relates to you and your chart, just know that this solar eclipse is going to be more influential. The first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses are the angular houses. And when we see planetary activity activate these houses, it tends to be major life stuff. Because when we really distill life down to the nuts and bolts of it, it comes down to angular house matters. The first house, the house of self and body, fourth house, home, family, seventh house, relationships, 10th house, career. There's, of course, lots of nuance and lots of layers, but those are kind of the structures of this experience. And when we talk about first house, this is you. And what I can tell you around this solar eclipse is that you are going through this transition around your sense of self and ways in which you could have categorically defined yourself. Perhaps you've always seen yourself as a very hard worker. And around this time, around a solar eclipse, you're finding that that no longer resonates, that no longer relates, that no longer fits just right. Maybe your work ethic is still something that you value and appreciate, but you recognize the truth of who you are and the sum of who you are is bigger than just how hard you work. Or if there was a certain attachment to being perceived in a certain way, being perceived as the one who's always helpful, who's always there to drop everything in order to help out. Maybe you've identified with being a workaholic. You've identified with working very hard. You've identified with looking a particular way. And it's important to allow our self-concept to stretch and shift and adjust in the different seasons of our life. That doesn't make it not scary when it is transpiring. You could have been in a certain season in which you were hustling, you were grinding, you were working super hard. That doesn't make it not scary when an outdated way of seeing ourselves or defining ourselves or even valuing ourselves drops away. That doesn't make it not terrifying when we find, like, I'm relating, I'm changing. Sometimes it can feel so uncomfortable when you find you're not resonating with the same music anymore. You're not drawn to the same material. You don't have the same habits anymore. Sometimes we can feel into that shift and our mind and our mentality that automatically wants to filter everything as good or bad in order to ensure our own protection could filter that as bad. Change equals bad. Tapping into new sides of myself equals bad because our mind, which a lot of you are Virgo rising, so ruled by Mercury, the planet of the minds, a lot of you are very mentally oriented. Your mind is not there to make sure that you arise to your soul's calling. In fact, your soul's calling will test you and challenge you. And the mind likes what it knows. It likes what it can predict. It likes what it can expect. So our mind will keep us in the comfort zone because it's like, we're safe here. We will survive here. It's constantly scanning out for threats, and it sometimes will incorrectly categorize experiences that will challenge us and change us as a threat and an arena not to go towards. And so when we recognize things that used to be stable and solid around this is how I see myself and this is how I present myself to the world, and these are the qualities of myself that I like to shine out. When we start to feel that morph and change, we can start to get in this energy around who am I? But there is a need at this time to surrender who you've been in order to embrace who you are becoming. And maybe elements that you are surrendering at this time were soulful, were aligned. It's like, this was part of my journey and I'm letting it go. But for others of you, it's like, this was never in alignment with my truth. This was simply the self-concept, the persona I feel like I had to adapt in order to navigate this world, in order to survive, in order to be seen, in order to feel like I'm being of service, in order to feel like my life has any value at all. Some of you could be deconstructing the mask around, this was never me. This is just what I feel like I had to be. And some of you, I'm seeing you could be really releasing this notion of being nice. You know, with the energy of Virgo always wanting to be helpful and service oriented and humble even. And there could just be this energy around, this soul did not choose this particular body and have this particular experience in order to be nice, in order to be convenient, in order to be as helpful as I could possibly be at every moment in time. And parts of that will require letting people down, but I would rather let other people down rather than let my higher self down, honestly. And there is a story around connection alive for you currently, as North Node in Pisces is most likely transiting your 7th house of one-to-one connection and partnership. And you can find that soulmates are coming into your experience. And sometimes soulmates show up in a romantic form. Sometimes they show up in a platonic form. You do have Jupiter in Cancer 11th house. Sometimes they show up in a colleague form, in a business partner form. Soulmates show up in so many different arenas and categories. But what's important to know is that you need to have space in order to invite people into your world. And sometimes we have certain habits or tendencies that subconsciously block connection. And sometimes we don't have space to invite in connection because of our own fixations, our own addictions, our own compulsions that can serve to keep people at bay. And some of you may be releasing some of these, letting go of this battle for perfection within your physical vessel. For some of you could be letting go tendencies towards being a workaholic, filling every moment of your life with being of service, with laboring in some form or fashion. Some of you could be releasing this notion of needing to be the one who swoops in and fixes everybody else's problems and allows your own humanity around I'm imperfect. Because it's very hard to connect to a perfect person because nobody's perfect. So if you feel like you need to be perfect, it's very hard for people to connect with you. If you feel like you have to wear this veneer around, I've got it all figured out and I'm such a hard worker and I'm always go, go, go. And my body is always on point and I don't struggle at all. Again, Virgo in the 1st house. And by the way, I'm in the same category as you all. There can be this energy around wanting to display the most seamless, flawless version of yourself, which again, a beautiful quality to strive for excellence, but it doesn't always make you relatable, because are you displaying that veneer of perfection in order to be accepted by others? Or do you feel like that's what you need to project in order to be accepted yourself? And again, I think some of you are releasing this hyper independence as well, because that also can be a protective modality, a way to keep people at bay around, if I do it all myself, then I won't have to let anyone in, and then nobody has to see the real me and the vulnerable me, or I won't be disappointed by others. Again, all of our veneers serve a different function, but they do get in the way of genuine connection, as well as freeing up more time and energy for you. If you've been in the hustle, go, go, go mentality, you may find you're not as enticed to be living that way. And that might freak you out. I know for me, like I highlighted, I'm in this category and it's been really freaking me out how different I am. Like I truly feel like a different person. I know a lot of you likely feel the same. One component of that is the energy around my life. I mean, when I was in school, when I was in my 20s, I was always going, like working every moment, always had more than one job. And that was my life, was just working all of the time. And that was a way that I defined myself around, I am a hard worker. And it didn't really allow in support or help from other people. I was the support and help for people. I was a lot of people's like assistant or right-hand woman, what have you. And now I'm running my own thing, which obviously feels very good. But I'm not willing any longer to sacrifice certain elements of my life that I was all too willing to sacrifice earlier. Again, if you were to ask me in those seasons of life, I would have been like, my work ethic is such a great quality. I love that about myself. And I still do think it's a great quality. But I recognize now how I would jeopardize my health. I would jeopardize my sleep schedule. I would jeopardize my friendships and my relationships within my life. I worshiped at the altar of work ethic and working. And I'm really grateful that I made certain sacrifices. I laid down a foundation that supported, but it's a recalibration. And part of me just around even wanting to have a day off is like, whoa, usually I cram every minute of the day with time, or even, outsourcing, hiring. That feels really uncomfortable for me. And I'm sure a lot of Virgo risings as well, even if it's not showing up within your business, if it's showing up around having a housekeeper or allowing your partner to pick up more tasks for you, it could feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to doing it all. But just because you can do it all doesn't mean that you need to. And sometimes it actually deepens your relationships when you allow yourself to be vulnerable around, I'm not this perfect machine who's always go, go, go and work and hustle and I can do it all. And I'm girl bossing and I'm fit lifing, or however this Virgo energy shows up within your world. Sometimes when you just allow yourself to be human and to be messily human and divinely human, right? This North Node Pisces leaning into this energy around accepting yourself and calling in relationships and connections that also accept you. Because again, this placement suggests that there's this portrayal of perfection because we feel like that's the mask that we need to wear. We feel like that's the version of self that we need to step forward as in order to be accepted, in order to be of value. And there's almost an energy with North Node Pisces around embracing our own messy truth. And because we're embracing ourselves, we call in more people who embrace us. If you are being very critical of yourself, subconsciously you will attract partners who are critical of you as well. And when it comes to relationships and partnership, there is no perfect person. A lot of relationship requires radical acceptance. And we can, of course, work on connection and work on communication. There's lots of elements that are malleable, but at a certain level, people are who they are and you are who you are. And so what would it look like if you didn't chase and hustle and construct this person that you feel like is what you need to be? What would it look like to just be as you are? And how magnetic would that allow you to be to attract people who are for you? Truly the best way to call in your career path, your ideal friendship group, your soul family, your partnership, whatever it is that you want out of this experience on earth. The way to call in what is truly for you is to be you, not who you feel like you need to be in order to get what you want. Who are you truly? Again, North Node Pisces, we are only calling in what is truly for us. Why would you want something that is not for you? Have you ever tried that? My fellow Virgo risings, sometimes we could put in a lot of hard work and effort. I remember there was something in my life and I knew it wasn't for me, but I still wanted it. I still wanted it so badly. And I was willing to sacrifice all of the beautiful, magical things that the universe was orchestrating for me in order to cling to something that in retrospect was not all that. And it's like, we don't always know how things are being orchestrated and aligned. And I see how releasing that brought me into alignment with everything that was truly meant for me. That's so good and so magical that I wouldn't even known to ask for it. And I know not all of you are Virgo risings, but Virgo energy does like a plan. And even if you're not a Virgo rising, you do have some Virgo degrees in your first house. And some of the most beautiful experiences are serendipitous. You wouldn't even know to ask for them. You wouldn't even know to schedule them in. And sometimes they do come after challenge, hurdle, and strife. I want to mention Saturn is currently in Pisces. It's wrapping up its Saturn Pisces journey. This has been ongoing since March 2023, and it likely has been quite challenging for you. And it's super helpful to see hardships and challenges as proof that you are on the brink of a miracle, because oftentimes that is how it works. And it's hard to work the muscle of faith and trust in that. But please know that any hardship and challenge that you have experienced, you are on the brink of a miracle. Claim that, move in that direction, and let go of versions of self that no longer align. Let go of ways of dressing, ways of doing your makeup, jewelry, clothes that no longer align. You might find around this time you're enticed to go through your wardrobe, go through your clothes. What feels like you? What sparks joy? Like with the energy of North Node Pisces, again, the most surefire way to call in things that are for you is to be you. How does your higher self dress? Not in this aspirational way around, I'll get what I want if I look more professional, but like what feels right? What feels soulful? Outside of society's expectations of perfection, how does it feel to be myself? And how does it feel to release any sort of pressure around my aesthetic or my appearance that is no longer for me? And some of you could really be letting go of this energy around the value is encapsulated in how you look, or what your body does, or what your body looks like, or how your body performs, or something like this. Like North Node Pisces is recognizing, of course, we have these physical vessels. We should treat them kindly during our time here on planet Earth. But the truth of who you are is not limited to what is within your skin. Like, of course, treat your body well, dress and adorn yourself in the ways that feel aligned for you, but you are not defined by your physical vessel. So if it's controlling you, if it's consuming you, this attachment to needing to be perceived as perfect or seen as societally acceptable, with the energy of North Node Pisces, learn to really see the beauty, the divinity in yourself as well as others. You know, other people can be a mirror and a reflection. And when I think of North Node Pisces and South Node Virgo, I think of that energy of seeing a painting. And if you were to zero in, you would see all the messy, all of the issues. But North Node Pisces, take a step back. See the beautiful painting altogether. All of those messy brushstrokes create the beauty. And you could be asked to really step into that acceptance of yourself, seeing the divinity within your design and within others as well. We came here to connect. And like I said, vulnerability can allow us to relate to others. It's hard to relate to perfection. And it also helps us free up our load or lighten our load around asking for support or advice. Maybe you do this within your friend group around being the one who always knows what to do. And maybe this is a transit around saying, yeah, I'm just a human. I'm just trying to do the best that I can do. And like giving up the battle, how much time and energy could be to feel like you always have to be the one who knows it all and knows exactly what to do. What would it look like to try easy? What would it look like to go with the flow? And if you're not sure how to do that, like really look at the people around you and allow anyone around you who encapsulates this energy to reflect that to you and question, could I tap into that? Again, release who you've been, step into who you are. And it's not modeling yourself off others. Just sometimes people can reflect certain qualities to us that we contain and we need to like bring forth. Where notice around certain people on dates, with friends, with a business partner, if there's new sides of you that emerge, a more carefree side of you, a more go with the flow side of you, a more fun side of you, or if you are allowing in support, as I highlighted earlier, a side of you where you don't need to micromanage. You don't need to control every last piece. You are telling yourself it's safe to receive. It's safe to accept this help and almost accept yourself for needing help. I just feel like there's this energy around, if I'm always independent, if I'm always perfect, then I will be safe. And there's an energy around recognizing it could free up so much of my time and my energy to be supported by others. It can allow me to connect with new people by connecting and partnering with others. That's why I think we're all good at different things, is so that we intentionally seek out other people who are really good in arenas where we are deficient. Like I, for one, can certainly not fix anything. I'm not good with cars. And I feel so blessed and so grateful for the people in my life who are. And I feel so blessed and so grateful that within their free time, they're not just nerding about planets and stars like I am all of the time. And I'm able to share my zone of genius with them. We all have different gifts, spiritual, soulful gifts. And when we admit, I don't need to be the person who knows everything about cars and knows everything about this and that, my soul's path is taking me in this certain direction, that frees up my energy to seek out individuals who can help me in those arenas where I am deficient and cannot do it all. I just feel like with this lunation opposing Saturn, some of you might be really hard on yourself or beating yourself up. Something didn't work out. I'm not excelling like I wanted to. I feel like this arena of my life could be better, but really see how this restriction could be universally orchestrated for you to invite in someone. Sometimes blessings are answered not in something, but someone. Sometimes it's not around finding the perfect house right away, but finding the realtor who will guide you to that house. Sometimes it's not around 10xing your business right now, but finding someone who will move you in that direction. Like a lot of times our blessings are answered through people. And it requires you to be in that state of humility around, I'm not perfect and I can't do it all. I'm not a machine, and that's okay. I accept myself for that. And I tap into my zone of genius. I tap into the sides of myself that are feeling nourishing and soulful for my growth. The Virgo solar eclipse lands within the second house of your astrological natal chart. This message is for you. You may be a Leo ascendant. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo located in the second house. Either way, the life arena that is being spotlighted for you is around values, finances, and self-esteem. And what I want to say firstly is that some of you are going through a period in which your values system is changing. Things that you used to value quite a bit, you no longer do as much. Things that you used to not value are suddenly the forefront of your focus. And when things are shifting and changing, sometimes it could feel so uncomfortable. We're like, I don't recognize who I am. I don't recognize what my life is moving into. And that scares me. But it's important to see wherever possible, you could take any anxiety that could be brewing and bubbling with this Virgo solar eclipse and see where it is that you can shift it into excitement wherever possible around this is opening up space. And I'm so excited to welcome in what will align. I will say if there's any sort of shift that transpires at this time, you have to trust and know it is opening up space, and it's always going to help us get to the other side of an uncomfortable change or shift if we hone in on the vision that we are moving towards, even the dream we're moving towards with North Node Pisces, or at least the space that it's opening up. And for some of you, there may be something around your finances that you are letting go, but it's opening up space. For some, you could be shutting down a certain income stream, or for some, that decision may be made for you, which I'm not saying you have to be at that place where you're like, yay, love that this is happening. But it is important with eclipses to trust in the bigger cycles of things. And obviously knowing we need to make money, but you won't be thinking about it when you're on your final bed that you will ever lay on. Like, not to be so morbid, but with North Node Pisces in the 8th house, it's just important to come back to the spiritual truth of who you are and why you came here and what your legacy is. And knowing that it's more than just material items. It's more than just possessions. You did not come here to make money, consume, and pass away. Like, there is a bigger why. So some of you could making this shift voluntary around this has been adding a lot of stress into my life. This has been disrupting my peace. I've been working very hard and I feel like this is not worth my effort. What would it look like to let go and to invite in space for newness to flow into my world? Some of you could be consciously unraveling some sort of side hustle or some sort of side business. An issue with planning is that we don't always know how something is going to feel when we're there. Like, I'm talking to a lot of Leo risings. You all are so creative. And sometimes you have a certain vision around this business is going to be the best usage of my creative energy. But then when you get into it, you recognize, oh, I didn't know this was going to feel like this. And I didn't know my creativity would be blocked in these particular arenas. Sometimes you don't know until you jump in. And there's no harm in jumping in. I think there's a theme around that with the solar eclipse opposing Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. This is a degree that speaks of pure potentiality. We learn through jumping into things. And of course, I'm not saying to do things willy-nilly and waste time and energy and money even doing those sort of things. But you learn, and that is a gift. That is currency within itself, is the knowledge and the experience. If there's any of you who wanted to start inviting a new way to make money or a side hustle or something entrepreneurial, but you've been waiting for the perfect plan and to get step A through Z completely ironed out. Like I was saying earlier, there's bigger cycles than us. So sometimes we might get to a certain place and be like, oh, I didn't know this was going to feel like this. There's matters that we cannot plan for nor prepare for. And so we waste so much of our precious time and energy trying to get to the end of it, as well as trying to make the perfect plan rather than recognizing that experience is valuable within itself. And sometimes we try to invest in something, we try a certain side hustle and it doesn't work, and that's okay. Some of you might have that acknowledgement around, I tried to flip furniture and that was not for me. That is not how I want to be sharing my creative gifts and talents with the world. And that's okay. You learned something, and everything takes you into the next season of your life. I've shared this story before, but the reason I am here with you in this cosmic corner of the internet today is because of a failed business venture. Because of a flop. I never consciously thought that I could be an astrologer. It was just always been my nerdy little passion and hobby until my friend came to me with an idea of making like astrology essential oils. And in selling our astrology essential oils, so we had, Libra, Taurus, all of the different signs. In selling those, I would teach astrology workshops, just like basics on the signs. And I realized I didn't like making the bath bombs. I didn't like making the essential oils, but I loved talking about astrology. And so it got me thinking, what if I just did that? And, we lost money on our entrepreneurial pursuit. Luckily, the friendship was maintained. Sometimes it's hard to go into business with someone that you are friends with, but luckily the friendship survived, and it led me to where I am now. And so I did have to pay a experience tax in a sense. Like I did lose some money off of it, but that is what led me here. Like, had I not had that experience, it wouldn't have led me here. That's how we figure out what we like and we don't like, is sometimes jumping in. Like, some of you might have invested in something and you're like, I bought this sewing machine, but I'm not really liking having to turn around orders on Etsy. This doesn't feel good. And you wouldn't know that until you did it. Like, sometimes we have moments like that. And maybe some of you feel like you have to dig your heels in, especially if you really value your work ethic. But it's also just contemplating in this wild, wonderful life. Like, what do you want to spend your time doing? And is that your legacy? Is, making furniture on Etsy or whatever? And I'm not saying necessarily you need to figure that out with this eclipse. Second house has to do with finances, money. I'm not saying everybody needs to start a side hustle. That's just one potential storyline. Some of you could just recognize and categorize the job that pays your bills. If you have a job that pays your bills, but you're like, I don't really find meaning or higher purpose in it, it's important to honor the purpose that does exist in the way that makes money around, okay, I don't feel like I'm saving the planet by working for this company, but it is supporting my family, or it is supporting my passion project. It's supporting my art. And to that, I can filter this into the bigger symphony of my life and not allow it to consume me. I see some of you are releasing old mentalities around money. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of fear around money, a lot of scarcity, a lot of budgeting, or maybe even the inverse of that. Maybe you have a more fearful approach on money because you grew up in an environment where it was spent and not saved. And so there's this uncomfortable energy around not feeling supported by the universe. And of course, like, the economy is what it is. The world is what it is right now. And this could be a solar eclipse around releasing the mentality of it. And again, I know the Virgo part of your brain and the realistic part of your brain is going to jump in and be like, well, Haley, Comet, I have budgets and numbers are numbers. Like, what do you mean about this mindset part? North Node Pisces is really around coming back to the truth of your soul, that your soul is not defined by the number that is in your bank account or how much you get paid, that your value is not limited to that. And it's also welcoming in a more nuanced spiritual perspective of finances, especially if you feel like the current one is siphoning you, draining you, creating a lot of worry. Some of you might have financial worries, or there's just an energy around, oh my goodness, what if this happens around the home, or what if this happens at work? And it's beautiful to be prepared, but it's knowing no matter how nuanced your visions are, there will be unexpected arenas and pivots and detours to it, where you can try to conceptualize every possible thing that could transpire and prepare for everything, but something will catch you by surprise. You will termite proof your house and then have a hornet's nest within it. And I'm not putting that out there. I'm just saying we cannot prepare for everything. We cannot expect everything. And I even see some of you could have a certain bill that comes in around this time where it's like, ugh, I don't want to spend this money. It's not fun money. Virgo energy can represent things that we have to do. I have to pay for this root canal. I have to pay for this insurance, something like this. This is not ideal. It's important with the energy of North Node Pisces to come back to the reality of it and just know money is just money. It can be earned back. I know it's frustrating. I know it can be super annoying when we have to spend money on things, but it's important to honor it can be made back. And there's some things like time that cannot be earned back. So the more time that you you are spending worrying and ruminating over the money that you spent or you should have spent or what have you, the less time that you have to live. And I even see some of you could be letting go of an income stream in order to invite in support. You know, unusual support could be finding you. Unusual financial support could be finding you at this time. You could be open to being supported by another. Maybe there's an energy around you're releasing your job and to being open to being supported by another, or even just like supported to the universe at large. There could be an energy where there is unfortunate financial news that comes up within your income or your spouse's income or something like this. And obviously the Virgo energy is going to worry and fret and ruminate, but tune into that soulful voice, that North Node Pisces energy that reminds you it's all going to be okay. Like the truth of the matter, the soul of the matter, all is unfolding as it's meant to. This bill is not going to be your undoing. You are going to work it out. The universe is going to figure it out. See where it is that you can surrender your worries and your fears over to the universe, as well as finding a way to bring money back to its proper size. Because of course, if we're in an energy of scarcity or fight or flight, a lot of our life will revolve around money. And the energy of North Node Pisces is coming back to those moments of flow and love within your life. That's so much more real than this construct of money that for many people consumes and controls. Like with North Node Pisces, even if you feel like you don't have the finances you want, it's like tapping into the arenas that you do feel abundant. Like maybe you feel abundant with time. You're able to go to the park in the middle of the day. Maybe you feel abundant with love. You're able to spend time with your newborn. It's like observing that abundance and where it's showing up and believing in an abundant world in all of its forms and welcoming in miracles, welcoming in support from others and allowing yourself to let go of any hyper independence or feeling like the only money that is valuable is money that you earn yourself. Some of you could have unexpected like support benefits coming in at this time. And for some of you, that could be like a little bit of an ego check. For example, if you are someone who's always like earned your own money and now you're in a situation where you qualify for some sort of government assistance or somebody is wanting to invest in you, there could be elements where it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel safe, especially if there's an ego identification around I'm a hard worker and I know myself as that and I can take care of myself. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should block the flow of how the universe is trying to bless you and bless your life. And it can feel uncomfortable to receive support, but receive it. And even if that's not showing up financially, receiving compliments, receiving assistance, receiving advice, receiving from others altogether, allowing intimacy. You know, 8th house is around shared resources, merged assets. And so that could be showing up within your marriage, within your business partnership, your shared bank accounts, around really allowing your effort to go towards the fusion of something, the union of something, rather than I put in this effort here, I should get this much. Like 8th house is a little bit more of a risky house. It can denote arenas like passive income or again, shared financial pursuits. But there can be an energy where it's feeling like the soulful path with North Node Pisces. You may find that you are being nudged to take a leap of faith from the universe financially around this time and not bank off your own efforts or your own labor, your own hard work at this moment in time. And if this isn't showing up financially, some of you could just have this energy around wanting to connect to what is divine, what is spiritual, what is bigger than you, and being less interested in what is realistic, what is practical, what is tangible, as represented by this Virgo energy. This message is for you if the Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 lands within the 3rd house within your astrological natal chart. Many of you may be Cancer ascendants. Many of you may not be Cancer ascendants. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo located in the 3rd house. But either way, this message is for you. And I do want to share, if you are a Cancer rising, this indicates that you are ruled by the moon. And eclipses, what we're talking about today within this forecast, are basically full and new moons on steroids, so to speak, or just extra exaggerated and amplified. So just knowing for you, even though this does not land in angular houses, which is when we typically have these like really big eclipse stories, every eclipse story for you might be a little bit more punctuated, exaggerated due to you being lunar sensitive as a Cancer rising. But when it comes to having a Virgo solar eclipse within the 3rd house, there is an energy around having a new lease on life, a new mindset, a new perspective, and being open to being wrong in a sense. When we think of Virgo energy, and I can say this because I have Virgo placement, It's no shade. It can be a little bit of know-it-all energy. And sometimes there could be an energy around this was not according to the plan, or I'm doing everything that I could possibly do, or this is exactly how it should go. And there might be a little bit of a humbling moment around this eclipse. I did everything that I could do, and here I am still humbled by the universe. You know, no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we prepare, no matter how much we dial into different tools, modalities, skill sets, there will be arenas in life school that we are ill-equipped for, not to the fault of you. That's the purpose of being a human being, is for us to learn and grow. And oftentimes that's messy. And sometimes there's an energy around, this shouldn't have happened. I planned for any possible pathway of what could have transpired. This was not according to plan. I learned this and that. This should not have happened. And there feels to be an acceptance that you're stepping into at this time around it happened. And how do we navigate forward? And third house has to do with our mind and with the Virgo energy. I just feel like a lot of you are struggling with a lot of worry right now. And I don't think it helps to listen to forecasts and have the astrologer be like, don't worry, be happy. Like that doesn't always help, right? And it's not necessarily a light switch, something that we could turn on and off, but it's just knowing that when it comes to certain problems, there's only so much that our mind can truly do in order to rectify or solve that problem. And especially if it was a problem that you got yourself into, the mind that got you there will not be the mind that will give you the solution. Oftentimes we layer on more worry and stress to an existing problem by fretting and contemplating any possible solution. But when we're strongly related and aligned with the problem, we're not in the vibration in order to reach for the solution. And so I'm actually seeing for some of you, there might be an energy around going on some sort of trip, retreat, having some sort of spiritual perspective that gives you a new lease on life, that gives you a different lens to view the situation or the problem. Not that it gets solved if you go on a long hike, or if you go on a retreat, or if you're really moved by a sermon at church, or you dive into your astrology transits and you're understanding how it's shaping up. It does not solve the problem, but it gives you a new lens around viewing it, and particularly viewing it in terms of the bigger fabric of your life, which a lot of times is very humbling. You know, when we dive into these systems where the North Node is most likely your ninth house, which has to do with God and the divine and spirituality and academia and philosophy and astrology, that can be a roadmap for how to navigate this life with faith and meaning. But it reminds us, oh, it's so much bigger than just me. And it's also so much bigger than just my problem. Oftentimes when we're worried about something or there's something within our life that is not going well, we can't help but to hyperfixate on it. Our mind continually goes back to it. And it's not that I am invalidating your problems whatsoever, but there is a nudge around this eclipse to come back to the bigger picture, the bigger roadmap, the bigger architecture of your life and what you're moving through. That's why religion, spirituality, astrology, numerology, whatever, these systems can be helpful in order to step out of your experience every so often, step out of the problems and the issues in order to come back into the bigger picture. Because when we are so related with our 3D, our human selves, and just all of the issues that are coming up. I'm even seeing for some of you, it's not so much like a huge problem within your life. It's just things are really annoying. I'm just getting an energy around things could be annoying. You could just be dealing with annoying neighbors. You could be handling all sorts of items where you're having to communicate with all of these different people. You could be getting a lot of people's opinions around how you should live your life or what you think that you should do, something like this. And it helps to kind of step out in order to view things in the bigger perspective. Because if something is not going right, if you're having like some sort of like bug infestation that you're having to call around and getting all sorts of quotes around, or a technical device is not working correctly or something like this, obviously our human self is going to be quite annoyed at the inconvenience. And there might be an ask around the solar eclipse to let go. And I feel for a lot of you having Virgo in the third house, that is not always natural for you. You might be someone who is very planned. You like to was going to say micromanage situations. That's not necessarily the nicest way to put it, but you might like to have some degree of control over your day to day and what it is that you are learning. And there's an energy around this solar eclipse in Virgo around coming back to the bigger perspective and allowing yourself to know that you can have the most perfect plan. You can have all of the perfect information. You could set things up just so, and sometimes things happen. There are truly things out of your control. And I'm just seeing for a lot of you, there's an energy around having to surrender, worrying, fretting, ruminating, obsessing. And I completely acknowledge that it's not so easy, like a light switch, like, okay, Haley, Comet, let me just stop. But I would really encourage stepping into the mantra, you cannot pray and worry at the same time. Even if you don't pray, even if you're not religious, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to be, but it's an energy around there's things in life that are out of our control. We could try to do everything right. We could have done everything right. And there's still things that will transpire, things that can be painful, things that can lead to sorrow, things that can lead to even confusion around, I don't understand why it had to be this way. And when we pray or when we give it over to the universe, give it over to the cosmos, we are just wasting our own energy worrying and fretting. If you get to a certain point where like, I've done all that I can do, I've called all that I can call, I've learned all that I can learn. And of course, within life, we always have arenas where we can improve and grow and learn new things. But I just see this energy of surrender that a lot of you are coming to. For some, this may have to do with a sibling or with a neighbor. Third house also can do with extended family members. And there might be somebody within your orbit in whichever lens who is maybe going through it. And maybe with this Virgo energy, you've been wanting to help them. You've been wanting to do their push-ups for them, trying to fix the problem, control the issue. But at the end of the day, it's their spiritual path. It's their journey. And there's only so much that you can do. It feels significant to just reiterate here that this eclipse is landing at the final degree of Virgo. It's the anaretic degree. And when we have an eclipse at the final degree, it's very layered. There's been a lot of degrees that have come before it. And so I'm even thinking for some, like that second chance has turned into like a 37th second chance. That favor has turned into a 48th favor. Like these helping hands that you've been extending, this favor that you've been granting due to understanding somebody else's situation, it may be layered and built. And there might be an energy around having to like kind of surrender into this energy around, you know, it is your life. It is not my circus. It is not my monkeys. And perhaps I'm worrying about the situation more than you are. Like I even see that for an energy, you could be like kind of absorbing worries for other individuals around, I care about you. Why don't you care about you? And again, wanting to give people tools or advice and just having to reach this stalemate where it's like, okay, I can't care more than you do. I can't do your push-ups for you. And what's strange is we have certain contracts with people, and sometimes we're in a certain contract that is not very fulfilling whatsoever on either side. And we feel like the villain, like a mean person, when we decide that we are disrupting the contract. For example, if you have a sibling and you always drive 2 hours to go see them or to help them out with different things because they always have this going on and this going on within their lives, and the time that you say, no, I can't drive all that way in order to help you out, you might feel like a mean person. Someone might even tell you that, you know, an eclipse on the South Node, third house, you might receive certain harsh communication or bad news or something like this. But when you decide, I'm not playing into this contract, it's leading me to this energy of just like martyrdom and going above and beyond. And we can think, well, what are they going to do if they don't have someone to drive 2 hours for them? You'd be surprised how often when we decide, I'm not doing this dance with you, I'm not fulfilling my side of the contract with you, you'd be surprised how often things shift on that person's end as well, where all of the sudden not having you to enable them or to jump in to fix their problem at any given moment sometimes challenges them to fix their own problems, take responsibility for their own problems because you're not there to take on the extra labor. I'm just seeing you're releasing something that's been laborious for your mind, either something that you've been like worrying about, stressing about, obsessing about with this eclipse at this final degree. And I do see that there is a new beginning, but it's a letting go. It's a bit somber. It's a bit bittersweet. It's reaching this place of acceptance, and it's really seeing wherever possible you can trust in the bigger cycles of things. Because Virgo energy tends to make us feel like it's all on our shoulders. shoulders. If I don't do this, who will? If I don't solve this problem, who will? And of course, participate within your life. Our life does not change unless we do something about it. But I feel for some of you, you've been doing all that you can do, and there's almost an energy around, I need to release. Either you are trying to get into a certain program and now it's like, okay, now we wait. I've planned, I've prepared, I've tried to fix the situation. I've done what I can do. I need to like step back. And it's not seeing it as complacent. It's really just seeing it as you're in flow with the universe and really tuning into the bigger picture. I mentioned this within your lunar eclipse in Pisces forecast, but for a lot of you, you are simultaneously having Saturn in your modality. Saturn's in Pisces now, but Saturn was in Aries earlier in 2025, and Jupiter in your modality. Other themes that could come up, some of you may be completing a certain topic, a certain field of study. There can be an energy having to do with early education in some arena of life. Like maybe you were homeschooling your kids or something like this, and you're just recognizing this is adding too much onto my plate. This is stressing me out. Or maybe you put in all this work in order to get your kids into certain early education that could align with them, and then they didn't get in. There's this energy of surrender around, I did all that I could do. There could be some theme around early education that is alive with third house energy. And third house is also social media, marketing. I had this realization the other day that like social media is really like gambling. You post rather than grabbing the lever to play the slot machine, you post a TikTok. Of course, you could plan algorithmically. This is very Virgo, right? You could dial into the statistics around which hashtags perform and what time of day performs. But to a certain degree, it's a lot of chance and it's a lot of luck. And posting on social media is kind of like gambling. There's, of course, a science to it. If it's YouTube, to thumbnails and tags. If it's a blog, it's SEO. Like there's definitely things to learn around these systems. But to a certain degree, you could have the perfect post with the perfect hashtags and a trending audio and all of just the things that you've learned about. And there still is an energy of surrender, or sometimes you put in all that energy and a post doesn't do that well. But it's like the one that you just post willy-nilly does incredibly well. Like there is an element of Piscean just kind of fate that intertwines in these arenas. I'm even seeing some of you could have been on a very tight content schedule, like posting and posting and posting, and you're starting to feel like a machine, and you might be kind of like letting that go in order to free up more mental space. I'm actually seeing some of you are wanting to like write a book, or you're wanting to talk on stages, like you're wanting your content information to be less like message, and more something of meaning, something more big picture. So some of you could even be not consuming as much social media, or not creating as much social media in order to focus your efforts around creating something more cohesive or more big picture. You know, I think of ninth house, where North Node is most likely transiting. It's like leather bound books, and third house, where the solar eclipse is and South Node is, as a tweet. It's like there's value, there's things to be learned, but I just see with the energy of ninth house, you might be enticed to either enroll in academia or dive into these divine studies, or you might be stepping into doing that yourself and less inclined to just talk about the weather or small talk or things like that. That could be less of an interest for you in order to open up more time and energy for this more big picture wisdom that you are seeking out, as well as for some of you, dispelling yourself. If the Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 lands within the 4th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. You may potentially be a Gemini rising. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo located within the 4th house. But either way, I do want to let you know that this is a more influential eclipse for you. And we know this, and I can say this because it is in an angular house, which angular houses just tend to be topics that are more emphasized. They are more exaggerated. They are more exclaimed, right? If they were a punctuation point, they would be an exclamation point. And your exclamation point is coming up around these 4th house themes of home, of family, of emotional state. So let's unpack this, because I know it's all too easy to put this together and to assume the worst. And I don't think that is a constructive usage of your energies. So one theme that could be coming up is some of you are just having less time to be at home, to be at family. Like some of you might have gone back to work if you were out of work for some time. Some of you could just be having a really busy season at work. Your career could be taking off. Things could be picking up, and you just have less time. There's also a nudge at this time around not wanting to keep secrets or having things be very private. You know, there might just be this energy around, I am who I am, and I don't really care what you have to say about it. Could be an energy, something that we are releasing at this time with South Node Virgo is this pressure around needing to be perfect or be perceived as perfect. And where this eclipse is a very private territory of the chart. And oftentimes in this effort to be perfect, we don't want to reveal too much. We don't want to share too much. And I just feel for a lot of you with North Node Pisces, most likely in your 10th house, you're arising to this place in life where you are just like, this is who the divine made me to be. And if you don't like it, I'm not for everybody and I don't care. You could be really releasing a lot of people's opinions right now. And that could be showing up symbolically, of course, but for some of you, it is around family. You could be releasing a lot of your family's opinions around how you are living, what you are doing. And there just might be an energy around, it's my life. And I really want you to claim that and step into that fully, because when you came here, you did not come here signing a contract saying that you were going to fulfill all of your mother's ambitions for you. You did not sign a contract to say that you were going to make your father proud. Like, if those are heartfelt goals of yours, of course, do that. But you came here for a reason. You came here for a purpose. North Node in Pisces is around remembering that. It wasn't to please others. It was to unlock all of the you out of you and all of the dimensions of your soul and your spirit. And stepping into that calling, stepping into that flow state will not be for everyone. And I'm even seeing for some of you, you're scared to even put yourself out there, try something new, do what your soul pulls you towards, because you are so fearful of judgment, whether it's your family, whether it's your hometown. There's just an energy around the past holding you back. And just this Virgo loaded degree also brings in this dimension around, well, if I post this online, then they'll see the real me, and the real me is imperfect. And there's just an energy around, whom are you wearing this veneer of perfection for? Why are you making them more important than you within your own life? I'm just seeing for some of you that there can be an energy around, well, I want to start posting on social media, but what if someone from my high school finds it? Or I want to launch this business, but what will my family think? And when you contemplate that, you are keeping yourself from what soulfully and spiritually you feel pulled towards, and making these people who probably don't care as much as you think that they do, take priority within your life and within this experience no more. And I feel for some, you're reaching this breaking point. You tried to be perfect. You tried to be the good son, the good daughter. You tried to do all of the things right. You tried to check all of the boxes. You tried to help all of the family members or loan out the money, whatever these expectations were. You tried it. It's that final straw energy is what I keep getting with this Virgo solar eclipse opposite Saturn around, I ran this favor for you over and over and over again, or I listened to your commentary and your critique of how I live my life over and over and over again, even though I'm helping you out. And then just one day it just reached that breaking point. It's like a day like any other. It's a comment like any other. It's a favor like any other. And there's just a point that you're like, I'm over this. I'm sick of it. It's never going to be enough. The ways that I serve you or help you is never going to be enough. What I try to do within my life is never going to be enough with you. You're always going to have something to criticize and unpack. No more. And there is something significant about Mars also positioned at the 29th degree of Libra at the same time of this eclipse. 2 planets at the aneretic degree just gives us like urgent now or never energy. And so I just feel like there's been like a almost potentially a passive aggressive energy building that reaches a point. And I'm not saying you have to like latch out and crash out. Okay. Never mind encouragement. Eclipse season tends to like kind of ramp up the activity. I almost just see it as like a quiet giving up in a sense, and not giving up in a disempowered way, but just giving up in this lens around, I tried to do everything that I could do. Like I tried, and now I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to try so hard in order to earn your validation, earn your acceptance, because I realize now it's never going to be enough. You're always going to ask for more. You're always going to have something else to critique. For some of you, you might reach this no more energy, even if these family members in question who have been critical of you are no longer in your life, no longer in your orbit. You may reach a place of no more. We can go no contact with someone. We can not have someone within our orbit currently and still have their words, their energy, their essence ricocheting within our brain, keeping us from opportunities or putting ourselves out there because their commentary has burned its way into our brain. And there may be an energy around releasing that. The solar eclipse opposes Neptune. So whose opinions have you turned into a god within your own life? And for some of you, this may not necessarily have to do with family. Hear me out, okay? Some of you may do something out in the world that garners a lot of thoughts and opinions. And sometimes you can allow those thoughts and opinions to absorb into your being. And sometimes when you go to lead that presentation or post your new song or whatever it is that you do in this world, you can allow that critique to burn in your brain and wanting to do what other people want you to do rather than what feels right to you, what your soul pulls you to, the energy of North Node Pisces. And there even could be an energy around second guessing yourself is what I'm seeing. Second guessing your emotion, second guessing your intuition, contemplating, is this right? What would this person think? What would this person think? And I'm even seeing just this energy around really allowing criticism to like burn into your emotional state, make you in this state of worry around if you put something out, you share something, what are people going to think? Was it good enough? Or even just taking criticism to heart is what I think a lot of you are releasing. Because of course, it's like, you know, Virgo is your fellow Mercury ruled sign. If you are a Gemini rising, there's power in people's perspectives and what they have to share. But I would say it's important for you to know that you should not take criticism from someone you would not take advice from, firstly. Really contemplate who you are giving power to around. You're allowing Aunt Betty, who thinks what you're doing online is weird, to have power over your life. You're allowing these people from high school to have power over your life. You're allowing a random comment of user 2126 to dictate what sort of music you want to put out next. Like, you really have to be conscious whose perspectives you are taking in and allowing to absorb into your emotional state and how that's impacting how it is that you show up out in the world. And for some, you could just recognize how you are always second guessing your emotions, your intuition. Should I be feeling this? Analysis paralysis of your own emotions. And it could bring you into a very perpetually nervous state. And it's not to say that that's seamless to remedy overnight, but there can be an energy around recognizing like, no more. I don't want to live this way any longer. Every time I have an emotion, I think, is this the right emotion? Is this the wrong emotion? Is this intuition? Is this fear? Like, there can be an energy around really seeing where the divine speaks to you with the energy of North Node Pisces, or those moments that you lose yourself in the flow. Some of you have North Node in Pisces transiting your 10th house. You also have Saturn in the 10th house. So a lot of you have been very challenged by career. You've been challenged. And it's not to say it's not hard, but true professionals or entrepreneurs, creatives, it's effortless. It's not to say you don't work hard, but there is this energy around being able to be so zoomed in and so focused that there is this energy around being fully in that moment, not absorbed around what do other people think about it? Is there a better way to do this? They're just like fully in that flow. And of course, it requires effort, but there is something around it that is effortless, flowing, natural. And I'm seeing that might be something that you are dialing into. Some of you may be moving. You may be releasing, grieving a place that you used to live, a place that you thought would be right. You could be letting go of a living situation where it's like, I did all of the research. How was I to know there would be ants? How was I to know that it would be so loud and it would add to my nervous system being so stressed out living in this sort of environment? Like, you could do all the research, you could plan, and there will still be things that take you by surprise. And so some of you could have to move, or you might just recognize like, this is not it for me. And work may somehow factor into this, just with the energy of Virgo here. For some of you, this may be coming up around roommate situations. Maybe you've had a roommate who is a little out of control and you've been taking on the worry and the stress of that, or trying to tell this person how they should live their life. And at a certain point, you have to just honor it as their life. You also might reach a little bit of a sale around a certain rule of the home environment, whether you're in trouble or the other person. There just could be an energy around certain rules, and maybe even like modifying said rules, or reaching a breaking point in which rules or a difficult conversation is necessary in relation to the home environment, especially if it's adding more stress and anxiety within your emotional state, which I just feel some of you are dealing with currently. And really for all of you, whether it's with roommates or a home that you're trying to buy, there is this energy of acceptance where, of course, you could do all of the research, you could interview roommates before you move them in, you could do all of the research around a certain home, and there still may be things that take you by surprise, that catch you by surprise. You could put in all of the work and the effort to place an offer for a certain house and they still go with a different buyer. Like sometimes we can do our work, we can do all of the things, and there's still experiences in life that humble us or catches us by surprise. And there's just a state of acceptance of it. And you could just be really focused on your life out in the world, your career, your reputation. And you may just feel like you have less time for your personal practices, for your sacred practices at this point in time, which sometimes we just need to acknowledge it's a season of our life. It is a season of our life and it will pass. I'm actually hearing a song from a fellow Gemini rising. I know not all of you are Gemini risings, but there's a song. It's called Times Like These by Addison Rae. And basically in it, she's saying, my life moves faster than me. I can't feel the ground below my feet because of course she was like blowing up and touring and all of these things. And that song reaches no resolution. Like there's not energy around, but it's going to be okay. Basically the resolution in the chorus is around times like these. It's how it has to be. Like sometimes you just are in a season where it's like you're having to work really hard. Maybe for some of you, you're spending less time with family in order to provide for your family. So it's like, I want to spend time with you, but this is for you. And I have to stay focused on that or the bigger picture or an energy around, gosh, I just want to like nest and rest. But this is a particular pocket of time in which I'm being guided to really like put a lot of energy and effort into my career and really work towards it. And sometimes just like factoring that into the bigger picture of your life, just recognize times like these, it's how it has to be. Things might feel kind of like chaotic and busy and there's a lot going on. But one thing about astrology that we acknowledge is that things are constantly changing. The sky above us is constantly changing. The season of our life that we are in is constantly changing. So just keep in mind, it will not be like this forever and this will pass. If the Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 lands within the 5th house of your chart, this message is for you. Many of you may be Taurus ascendants. Many of you may just have 29 degrees Virgo within the 5th house, but all of you are experiencing a new moon eclipse on the South Node in your 5th house, which governs romance, dating, fun, parties, children. Let's get into it. So I want to say, firstly, when it comes to the energies that you are experiencing right now, you are being nudged to dream big. And sometimes we find ourselves locked into certain habits or routines, rituals, because we feel hopeless. It's like, what's the point of trying to better myself or move towards my goals if they feel so out of reach? So instead, I'm just going to party. Instead, I'm just going to smoke. Instead, I'm just going to do this and that. And this is not me casting judgment on what anyone decides to do with their leisure time. But having a vision and a hope for your life does support with your ambition. And sometimes within the world, just in how it is, it can feel so harsh and so cruel and so hopeless around how can I make things better for myself? How can I make things better for the world? And it's knowing that the darker forces within this world want you to feel that way, want you to give up, want you to feel helpless and hopeless, so that you spend money in certain industries, that you comply with certain societal expectations. There is a lot to be gained from you feeling helpless. And there's a lot to be threatened in terms of the status quo to you feeling empowered to make a difference within your life and within humanity altogether. And I'm not putting this pressure on you. If you're like, Haley, Comet, I'm over here going through it and you're telling me I have to save the world. Not at all. But what I am saying is that it helps to have a vision for your world that is bigger than your day to day. I just see that some of you may be releasing at this time certain habits, a certain lifestyle, partying all of the time, drinking all the time. You know, we think of Virgo energy as like green juice and hot yoga, and it can be that. But when we really distill Virgo down to its core, it's around rituals, routines, things that we do every single day. And it's not to say that those routines are always necessarily healthy. And so with the 5th house, it gives these themes of, you know, gambling, partying. And so there might be an energy around you've had certain routines or a certain lifestyle, and you might find that it's unfulfilling. And like I said, if you just think of life as something to get through or get to the other side of, it's like, what's the use if I spend my money on gambling or if I, you know, indulge in hookup culture or if I do this or that? And if you just think this world is meaningless, it might kind of give way to certain hedonistic vices, which again, You do you. I'm not saying any of those things are inherently bad, but I would really check in if there are certain vices that you have that are stem from this energy around, well, nothing matters anyway. I'm not going to better my situation anyway. So what's the harm if I spend my money on gambling? What's the harm if I go out drinking, even when I said I was going to write my novel tomorrow? Like, really, with North Node Pisces, we are being asked to come back to the bigger picture, come back to a higher perspective outside of the getting through day to day. I even see some of you might have certain vices or habits because of your work schedule. It's like, this is the only thing that numbs my brain out, or this makes me feel worth it to me, is indulging within this. You know, it's interesting. When I was working at 9 to 5, I shopped way more. I went out to eat way more. It's almost like I would compulsively spend money because I was like, this is what makes that lifestyle that I've been living worth it, in a sense. It's like, now that I feel really fulfilled with what I'm doing, I don't have that same like lusting or desiring around shopping or going out to eat. I still do those things, obviously, sometimes, definitely less, but it's like the desire is different. It's not like compulsive. It's not like I just need to do this to like numb my brain out or to make it feel worth it to me. It's like I do it because I want to experience it. So it's also just seeing if you are locked in certain cycles and like, are they truly making you happy? Sometimes we have certain vices and we're almost like numbed out, in a sense, where it's like, do I even like this? Like, you might have a certain work schedule that's really intense, but it's like all worth it because then you have the weekend, you could just like, you know, smoke and chill, but then you're finding you're getting paranoid and you're like, why do I do this? Why do I spend my money on this? Why do I spend my time on this? I'm over here freaking out. I just see that that's a potential storyline for some, is like really looking at the role that any sort of vice plays within your world, which, if that resonates within your world, you're super aligned with Saturn and Pisces as a transit overall. Make sure to check out that video because I think a lot of people are looking at that within their lives. And it's really just looking at your routines and if they're getting you to where you want to go and that vision for your life. Coming back to the vision idea, if you do not have a vision, something you want to move towards, a goal, a dream, you will just keep replaying the same day because your soul doesn't know what to move towards. And it's, of course, important at this time to surrender how we thought things were going to be. Like, that's what we're all being asked to do at this particular moment in time. That is important. That is essential. But it helps to at least have some sort of vision, something that you are somewhat moving towards. That can be medicinal to getting you out of a certain situation if you feel like something's been very much a cycle or a loop. In fact, that's what I've found has been the best for releasing a bad habit, is replacing a bad habit. It's choosing to go to a fitness class rather than going out partying. And of course, it's going to hit different. It's going to feel different, but it's going to help you not feel in the space of void or nothingness because you feel like you are supplementing it and something that helps you move towards that grander vision. Some of you might be in some sort of dating situation where you're just like, this is not it. And you might reach a little bit of a breaking point around, this is fun, but it's really not leading me to what I want to go towards. Like, if you do have like a friends with benefits, a situation, something like that, that's like casual and it's just kind of, yeah, we hook up as part of the routine. They're not who I want to be with, but they're just like here to fill the space. There is an energy around really contemplating, what do I really want for my future? Like, you could say, oh, well, if I meet my soulmate, I'll, of course, you know, stop hanging out with this person. But it's knowing that people in our lives and people within our routines, they do take up space. So you could say, oh, I'm still available and open for my soulmate to find me at any point in time. But it's like that Thursday that you didn't go to the paint class because you were hanging out with this situation, like, that could have been an opportunity for the universe to give you this person, as well as inviting in love and romance into our life that is part of our bigger vision, like a real life partner. It tends to come to us when our vibration is very clear and it's not murky around, well, I'm still hung up on an ex, and I'm still kind of spending time with this person. Like, we really call on that person when the cords are cut and our heart chakra is open. Okay. And I'm not saying all of you are meeting your soulmate around this eclipse. What I'm saying is you are releasing the hookups, the situationships that are blocking you from finding your soulmate is what I'm seeing. And if information comes out, if you have a revelation, if you have an aha around eclipse, that is the universe getting involved. If someone leaves your life around this time, that is for your protection. And this is not necessarily like marriage partner energy, like fifth house is kind of like a good time sort of energy. And so some of you could even question that around, how have I been using my sexual energy? Is this helping me? A lot of you are Taurus risings. It's a Virgo solar eclipse. Earth signs are very sensual. They're very in their body. And again, you do you. This is not me casting judgment. In fact, we're all releasing casting judgment with South Node Virgo. But there might be an energy that you arise to around really stepping into like celibacy, like realizing how sacred it is to fully belong to yourself. That was really eye-opening. I saw a TikTok. I don't recall the creator. I need to get better about this. But essentially they were talking about why Virgo is considered the virgin. And it's not necessarily this idea of, being pure and being abstinent for our entire lives. We are here to touch and feel and connect in that sort of way. It's meant to essentially represent this energy around belonging to yourself. And so like even stepping in this energy around your body belongs to you and you can utilize it as you see fit. So maybe some of you aren't literally going celibate, but you're like stepping into the energy around wanting to be very empowered around the decisions that you are making as it relates to getting physical in that way, with fifth house governing that. On that note, fifth house, it's around the act and then it's around the sometimes byproduct of said act. Fifth house also governs children. And some of you might reach a point around really questioning if you want to have children, if it dials into the bigger picture of your purpose on this planet, your vision for this planet. There is not one way to live life. We all have a different purpose. We all have a different why. And so maybe some of you have been pressured by family members. When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? We all have a different why. I also saw a TikTok and I also forgot who posted it. God, I'm the worst. It was basically talking about one person decided to use her 20s having children and one person decided to use their 20s working. And it was like, okay, jump 15 years in the future. Who's crying at night? And the answer is neither, because it's the decision that they made. Unless it was a decision that felt forced to them from others. Like there's no right way to live life. Nobody needs to have children in order to have a worthwhile, meaningful life. Now, a lot of people do, and you might be listening to this forecast and have children. And it's very worthwhile. It's very meaningful. And it's one of the most profound ways to leave an impact on this planet is raising great humans. I'm not devaluing that whatsoever, but I'm speaking more so to the individuals who feel like that is the only path or the only usage of time, because it is a lot. It's a big commitment, especially with this energy. Virgo is around our labor with the energy of fifth house. Children are a lot of labor. It's a lot of effort. You also worry a lot around that child. It just is part of being a parent, is just constantly worrying around your child, around what if this happens, what if this happens? And of course, like keeping them alive. It's a lot of worry to take on your plate. And again, it's the purest form of love that you could have for another individual is like having a child, but it's not for everyone. That level of stress or distress on your mental state is not for everybody. And for some of you who have children, there might be an energy around having to release worrying, micromanaging, controlling your children, having to reach this point around they are their own people and this is their spiritual journey. As much as it hurts my heart to see the decisions that they make, or I'm just like worried around the situation, I want to fix it for them. You have to honor that they are autonomous beings, that they are spiritual beings and they have their own path and they have their own dharma and it's bigger than you. And of course, you're there to support them and guide them, but the energy of Virgo solar eclipse is around, I've done all that I can do. I'm worried sick over this person. I'm just obsessing over my child and their life and how they're going to fix this or get out of this. And again, it's beautiful. It shows how much you deeply care, but there might be an energy around the solar eclipse around, it is your life. And fifth house also governs creative expression. And I see that some of you are just releasing this energy around feeling like you need to plan. If you're someone who plans your launches, plans your drops and things like that way in the future, sometimes you got to just take in the mentality around, I'll see how I feel when I get there. I'll go with the flow. Sometimes we can have a plan around, I'm going to launch this, I'm going to debut this, even if you're not like a creative necessarily. If you do anything entrepreneurial, this fifth house is very much around things that we kind of birth into the world, things that we create. And so there could be an energy around you're almost having to release control, or maybe you put out a certain project and the feedback is not what you expected it to be, or there's an energy around having a certain project that you are not able to micromanage as much. There's almost an energy to, yes, create, but do so in the space of flow and divinity and staying very focused on the big picture vision for your life. If the solar eclipse in Virgo lands within the 6th house of your astrological natal chart, you may be an Aries rising. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo within the 6th house. Either way, this is your Virgo solar eclipse forecast. So when it comes to this particular eclipse and really what's been moving and shaking in your world beyond the eclipse, because it's important to know the eclipse story is not neatly concentrated just to September 21st, there could be this energy around being less enticed to want to work as hard. And you might be like, Haley, Comet, I wish, but the way that my life is set up, I kind of have to. I just feel like there could be an energy where some of you could have like girl bossed too close to the sun, or you're like very much in like a hustle grind era. And you might just be in this energy around not prioritizing that as much, like coming back to the truth of who you are and really valuing who you are rather than what you do. And maybe for some of you, that's uncomfortable. Maybe you've always defined yourself as I am an achiever. I am always hustling. I'm always going. And there might be an energy around this lunation, around recognizing those things do not define me. And sometimes when we feel that, we're like, what's going on? Am I less motivated? Am I depressed? Like sometimes we're like, what is going on with me? But sometimes it's just representative around your life is shifting and changing and morphing into something different. And you have to let it shift and change and morph before you sound the alarm bells around something is off. Really just seeing how are things growing and evolving. And maybe I'm feeling less apt to take on a project if it doesn't feel like a hell yes, or maybe I'm feeling less motivated to 10x and 20x my numbers if I enjoy my day to day. Maybe I don't want to go for that promotion because I enjoy my position that it is now. That is okay. My value to society is not wrapped up in how hard I work, how much I perform, how much of a good participant in capitalism that I am. You could just be this energy around that is just a part of my life. That is not all of my life. And if that was imbalanced, that might sort of recalibrate around this eclipse, or that could be consciously recalibrating at this time. This recalibration wasn't as gentle as what I'm describing. Some of you reached a place of burnout. Some of you could have felt incredibly burnt out and you could have had to forcibly take a break. Like some of you might be taking a break from work, or you've had to take a break, you've had to go on medical leave, something like this, because the way that you were living was unsustainable. You were hustling and going, and maybe not listening to the cues of your body or listening to the cues of your own mental health. Something could have really gotten off kilter, and there's just like an energy of needing to rest and come inward in order to replenish what has been depleted. I'm just seeing a lot of you expended a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and it takes time to replenish the reserves. It's like an empty gas tank, but then even the extra gallon of gas that you have in the back, you got to replenish that too. So it's also being gentle with yourself. If you're like, okay, I've had a month off, I should be feeling better now. It's like, no, we got to refill the gas tank. Like when you've been pulling from your reserves, when you've been pushing past the signals of your mind, body, spirit for an extended amount of time, yeah, it takes time to replenish. It's kind of like that energy when you don't eat and then you finally do eat, your body holds on to those extra calories because it's like, wait, we didn't get anything before. We have to hold on to this in order to keep you alive because we don't know when we're going to be fed next. I'm almost seeing that in terms of your energy levels, where if you're finally allowing yourself to rest or go slow, your body is like, okay, finally we're able to rest. Let's just like really savor this, because what if we have to get thrown back to that crazy schedule again? Like finally we're resting. So I'm just seeing some of you may have to be patient, which I know is not always an Aries rising's favorite thing to do. Some of you are having to be patient with yourself, patient with your body, and just like rehabilitating what has felt drained within you. I also just see there could be lifestyle changes that are going on right now. Maybe some of you were engaged in certain nutrition, exercise routines that were not sustainable. Maybe it felt like it got you closer to the body shape that you wanted, or it was like very factored into the lifestyle of the go, go, go. But I almost see you might be prioritizing things that are a little bit more slow. Like to me, I'm seeing within my mind, it's like I used to go to HIIT classes and now I go to yin with sound bowls. Like when we talk about where the North Node is in the 12th house, which is very spiritual. It's very soulful. And there could be an energy where you're prioritizing more things that are spiritual and soulful. 6th house will have us define our life by how productive it is, by how many calories are burned and how healthy it was and how many projects we got done. Whereas the energy of North Node, 12th house, that's like the space of returning back to spirit. It's like, yeah, I didn't get a great workout at yin, but I had all these downloads and epiphanies. And so is that not worthy? Is that not valuable? Like there could be certain shifts that are transpiring currently like that, even if it's not literal. I just see some of you are slowing down and you're not fearing the slowing down. Like I said, when something's changing within our life, sometimes we're like, whoa, what's going on? Am I off? Am I depressed? Like what's going on with me? And obviously, if you are experiencing something, because I do want to highlight this can have to do with health of all sorts, you know, our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, what have you. Of course, seek out medical care, therapist advice, whatever it is that you're navigating. But sometimes when we're changing, we almost assume like, well, something's wrong, something's off. But sometimes it's like, oh no, I'm just connecting to a new side of myself. Maybe this is a softer side of myself. Maybe this is a side of myself that moves slower, that goes slower. On the note of health, I do want to say that some of you can be really prioritizing mind-body wellness, like not just doing the right things with the energy of sixth house, but also supporting your efforts around, yes, of course, seek medical advice and therapist, but can you supplement that with, you know, mantras and things like this? Like for me, when it came to my healing, it was like, I was into all the spiritual stuff, right? I do the sound bowls and the Reiki and all of that, but I also did EMDR, which is of course done with a therapist and is backed by science. We are multifaceted beings. This is a multifaceted experience. And some of you may find that you're approaching something from a twofold perspective around maybe science and medical here, but then adding in some spiritual here in order to continue to move towards this energy of healing. Some of you are releasing habits within your day-to-day that are not good for you. For some, you're going sober or you're looking at your reliance on sleeping pills, your reliance on smoking, your reliance on alcohol, your reliance on anything that helps you numb out, check out from your own experience. You're looking at that and seeing where it is that you can check out in a more constructive way, right? Coming back to spirit and source. You know, there's a reason why 12th house is associated with spiritual topics, but it's also associated with self-undoing. There's a reason why Pisces is a very spiritual sign, but it's also associated with alcoholism and escapism, because we as humans, this human experience is very dense and we're always wanting to return back to spirit. And when this experience contains so much sorrow and suffering, that soul call to return back to spirit gets louder and louder, which sometimes can show up around not wanting to be on this planet any longer. And it can sometimes show up around wanting and so desperately craving that oneness that we turn to anything in order to find it. Even if it doesn't really create that feeling of oneness and unconditional love, there's a lot of drugs out there that replicate similar emotions. And so we turn to that. And so it's not saying you can like fully return back to spirit form. Like some of you, I'm seeing you're reaching a place of acceptance around your physical body, some sort of chronic illness that you've been dealing with, or just like having to take into account, this is the lifestyle I have to live. This is the things that I have to do in order to make sure that I'm healthy, in order to make sure that I'm well. It's like our body, we can view it like a prison. And for those of you who are dealing with something chronic or ongoing, it can very much feel like that. And so of course, there's going to be desire around, I want to return to spirit. We are within this physical vessel. We should take great care of it. But there are ways to connect with that spirit side of you. And even if there is a temptation where you want to numb out the pain that you've been navigating, like some of you might even have like some sort of reliance on pain pills or really looking at that. And again, this is not medical advice. I'm just an astrologer in a cosmic corner, sharing what I see astrologically. But I just see that some of you, whether it's to numb the pain that you're experiencing, numb the health symptoms or the mental health symptoms that you are experiencing, or to just numb any sort of malaise or just discontent with this life, are turning to things that might give temporary relief, but are not long-term fueling your soul, and tuning into what makes you feel like your life is part of something bigger and gives you a sense of meaning, supports that energy of oneness, supports that energy of faith, supports that energy of hope that renews. And so some of you could be consciously looking for that, calling that in. Some of you could be meditating. I feel like all my videos lately, I've just been like, meditate, 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 but truly it changed my life. I would really recommend it. Or releasing certain habits that you recognize are stressing you out. They're adding more worry to your day-to-day. I'm even seeing some of you are setting limits with a coworker. Some of you might have a coworker at your place of work quit change departments, like not working with them as closely, or you're setting limits. You're like, Cecilia, I cannot keep doing your work for you. I cannot keep hearing your drama and your gossip every single day. Like, no more. Because again, this new moon is a new beginning and ending all wrapped up into one. And so that could impact a coworker of yours, that even might impact a job of yours. Like I said, you could be feeling less motivated around a job, or perhaps the universe decided for you that your time at this particular position is over. And of course, it sucks. And a lot of times we can take it very emotionally, or even take it very personally when we are let go and go through all of the feelings and the grieving of that. But there is an energy around what happens during eclipses is setting you up for a bigger picture. Even if you do not see it at this particular moment in time, it's important with North and Pisces to trust in the bigger cycles within your life. If the Virgo solar eclipse on September 21st, 2025 lands within the 7th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. You may be a Pisces rising. You may not be a Pisces rising. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo in the 7th house. Either way, this is a more influential, impactful eclipse for you, because it lands in an angular house, and to be specific, an angular house that governs relationships, partnerships, one-to-one connections. Let's break this down. Let's unpack this. I don't want you to assume the worst. I know we can think of the combination around Haley South Node as around release. It's in the energy of 7th house. Am I going to go through some sort of breakup? Not necessarily. But if you are one of the individuals who are going through a breakup at this time, please know separations that transpire around eclipses are fated, are destined, are part of a bigger story, are for your protection oftentimes. And of course, feel the feelings, grieve it. It doesn't help. I'm not saying you have to be the other side around. It's all good because it happened around eclipse. It's like, no, we're humans. It sucks. It's heartbreaking. But eclipse season is really the time that the universe gets involved. I really see it like that. You know, a lot of ancient and traditional understanding around eclipses is that it was the time that the gods would interfere with our mortal lives down here on planet Earth. I'm not saying that the gods are up there in the sky and they're just like snatching things out of our lives with their hands, but it is a time in which what's coming in is fated and destined, and what is departed is fated and destined. And even if you cannot see the why, the higher purpose right now, please know it's for a higher purpose. If someone shows you who they are at this time, believe them, whether that is your spouse, whether that is a serious relationship of yours, whether that is a business partner of yours. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. A lot of you are Pisces rising, so there is this energy around always wanting to see the best in individuals. But I almost see certain information, a certain conversation that could be had that forces you to see the situation for what it is, with the energy of this lunation opposing Saturn. And that does not entail a breakup for each and every one of you. I want to be so clear within that. Some of you could just have something going on with your spouse, with your partner, that is requiring having to look at some uncomfortable truths. Your partner could be going through something, and you might feel like you're not able to lean on them as much as you may want to. You know, you've got Saturn in the 1st house, so you might feel like at this time you have to be the rock for other people in your life, and you don't necessarily feel like you have that space to be held and cared for. You feel like you have to provide that space. And of course, within life, we all go through things. Like sometimes we're earning more money than our partner. Sometimes our partner's earning more money than us. Sometimes we're really healthy and we're able to take on more around the house. Sometimes the other way. Like, there is a give and take. There are seasons of our life that we go through with our partnership, and definitely honor where things feel so imbalanced. I just want to mention Mars is positioned at the 29th degree of Libra, so it might feel like it's been imbalanced over an extended amount of time. But there might be like extenuating circumstances that are transpiring, and that's what's important to keep in mind around, am I looking at a character trait, like this person is just being selfish and indulgent, or is my partner going through something? Is my partner navigating some sort of mental health issue? Looking at, is this who this person is? Are they just being selfish and indulgent by leaving me to handle all of this stuff? Or are they going through something and this will be temporary? There could be a need at this time to really assess. Your partner might go through, and I'm not inciting any fear whatsoever, but some of you may experience your partner going through a job loss, or maybe they're feeling less motivated around work, around career, where you've always known them to be very motivated, and suddenly they're dropping clients and they're not too bothered by that, or they lost their job and they're not as inspired to go get a new job, or something like this. You're going to feel like your partner's work ethic is changing in some regard. And again, like assessing, is this situational? Is this something that they're moving through? Are they just expecting me to carry this extra burden? That could be something that you are navigating, and it's going to be, situational. There could just be an energy around it having to really assess some hard factors of life with the opposition to Saturn. And I even see with the opposition to Neptune, this is not how I thought that it was going to be. Some of you might be parents. I just want to highlight that because a lot of your Pisces risings, your traditional ruling planet Jupiter is in Cancer, which is most likely transiting your 5th house. So you also could be getting to know your spouse as a parent. Like there could be like a letting go of what your relationship used to be in order to find out what's our dance now as parents. How is it that we shoulder the various responsibilities that we are taking on? And how is it that we strive to do that in a balanced way? And it's knowing like balanced is not two people giving exactly the same. It's individuals giving what they have access to, what they are able to, what they're good at. And that might shift. Like you might have certain days where you're able to give 80%, other days where you're able to give 20% just due to what you're going through. And same goes with any other human. And so just making sure that it's not leading to someone taking advantage of your kindness or your willingness to take on more of the lion's share of the burden. And if you feel like that is the case, there might be an energy around having to have a hard conversation around this time, which does not need to indicate a breakup. That just could be for some of you. Others of you, like I said, it's like releasing what your relationship used to be in order to step into where it's going now. I even see some of you, maybe your partner used to be a provider and now you're stepping into the workplace, you're doing more. Like, relationships sometimes shift, our roles within it shift. And I just feel like there might be something like that is transpiring currently. I also want to highlight some of you could be dissolving a business partnership in order to go at it yourself, or doing something as a duo in order to go about it on your own or by yourself, with the energy of North Node most likely in your 1st house and Saturn within your 1st house. You might be doing it on your own. Even if it's not with a relational partner, you could be having to set some boundaries at this time. Other people could have really taken advantage of your kind heart. Isn't that so sad that people do that? That was such an eye-opening lesson for me with Saturn Pisces, to realize that some people will see your kindness, your compassion, your generosity and think, ooh, easy target, someone for me to siphon off of. And it's like, no, not around here, partner. With Saturn and Pisces in the 1st house, not around here. And you really do have to teach people how to treat you. This is not me saying if you've been treated poorly that that is your fault. That is their fault. They should be embarrassed for being mean and cruel to you. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to internalize any of the treatment that you have received, because I actually see a storyline that some of you are actively releasing what toxic people in your life have made you feel about yourself. But it is important, the standards that we show up with around, this is how I expect to be treated. This is how I expect to be talked to. And sometimes it's really around the response that you give. Around if someone's giving you the bare minimum, they're not showing up in the way that you need, in the way that you require, it's depriving them of your energy. It's depriving them of access to your energy, your kindness, your time, whatever that is. It's not rewarding bad behavior. It's not rewarding people for not doing what they need to. And I'm not saying this in a manipulative way. Why would I do the 7th favor for you when you have not shown up for me at all? I'm going to say no. You don't get access to my kindness or my goodwill. And it's even just depriving people of a response from you. Sometimes people will comment negative things in order to get your attention. And when you indulge, you're feeding it. And there might be an energy where some of you are gray rocking, like you're just giving people nothing. You might be giving people like, oh, that's crazy. Because you just see it for what it is around, oh, you're trying to manipulate me into feeling bad for you. Or you're trying to manipulate me into helping you as I always do. And I'm not giving you that. Like, I'm just giving you nothing. Pisces is a very empathetic, emotional sign. So some people might be like, what are you doing? You're not being as you typically are. And you might be like, oh, someone that you could take advantage of? I'm not being who I typically am? Yeah. And so I see some of you are reaching that place. And just to define the term that I share, just in case you're not familiar with it, gray rocking, also known as stonewalling, is a technique often used with individuals who are more narcissistic. Not that that's the only applicable use, but it's where you give nothing, like no emotional response, like you just are kind of like flatlined, because a lot of people do feed off your emotional energy. Some individuals out there will get a weird form of pleasure seeing that they got under your skin, that they hurt you, that they upset you. And I'm seeing some of you are actually really minding what you allow people to see, or you're really just minding your own responses. And again, the emotional currency that you are feeding with your emotions, with your responses, and like pulling that back around not letting other people control your emotional state. I see that's a theme for some of you around, I'm not letting my entire mood and day be dictated around how you treat me or the comments that I receive. Like, even if it's not limited to a certain person, I just see that some of you are wanting to take control of your destiny around, I don't want you to dictate whether or not I'm having a good day. I don't want you to dictate whether or not I get what it is that I need. Like, there's just an energy around really wanting to reclaim your power and your agency, and starving people who are wanting to feed off your emotional energy. You could just really be conscious of that. And again, like really instructing people how they can treat you. If you want access to my emotional labor and my care and compassion, there is a certain expectation of how I expect to be treated. And like I stated briefly earlier, some of you could be healing or processing a past relationship and leftover debris from that relationship around, you might be out of the relationship, but you still feel the shame and the guilt from it. You still remember how that person made you feel about yourself, or even your physical body. I'm seeing for some of you with Saturn in the first house, even how you see yourself. It's like you want to go launch this business, but you're like, but my ex told me that I would never amount to anything. Or you want to wear this certain bikini and you're like, oh, but they told me that I look big in bikinis like this. Firstly, F that person and anyone who is mean to you. My kind-hearted Pisces risings. I know a lot of you are not, but nevertheless, F them. Okay. Secondly, this solar eclipse can be around releasing the commentary, the criticism that is ricocheting within your mind, that is impacting how it is that you see yourself and thus how you present yourself to the world. And if you put yourself in the pathway for your visions and your dreams to come to reality, you are in a creatively fertile time with your traditional ruling planet, most likely in the 5th house. And so I don't want you to launch things or debut things with people who don't like you, who have been mean to you. I don't want their commentary playing in your mind when you do it around, you're just about to hit post on something and you think of like your ex or someone else who's not in your life, what they would say about it. It's like, don't give them that power over your life. I see as a nudge here. You are the main character of your life. You've got North Node and Saturn in your sign after all. If 29 degrees Virgo lands within the 8th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. Many of you may be Aquarius ascendants. Many of you may just have 29 degrees Virgo within the 8th house. But all of you are being asked to surrender your worries, your anxieties over to the universe, which of course is easier said than done. I acknowledge that. I'm talking to a lot of Aquarius risings, and when it comes to Aquarius placements, sometimes the overthinking game is strong because you all are so intelligent and have such rich mental landscapes. But there is an energy around surrendering your worries. I'm seeing some of you could have even been kept up at night with worries and anxieties or fear of the future or what could happen or what if this, what if that. And it could be siphoning quite a bit from you. You know, there is a theme with this solar eclipse in Virgo around how much we gain when we release. How when we let something go, it's not nothingness, it's space to create, to invite in. So there is an acknowledgement how much your fears and anxieties have been siphoning from you, draining from you. And to see wherever possible that you can enjoy your life in how it looks like now without fearing the ending. I don't know if you're fearful around your passing or someone around you passing. And of course, death can be scary. And I'm not saying that there's a literal death. It feels more so it's like a mental hold that it has on you around what if, or even just like fearing tragedies or like things that are out of your control. And it's just important to acknowledge just that. It's out of your control. And to see wherever possible, you can dial into what you can control, as represented by North Node in Pisces. And there might be some harsh recognitions that you are acknowledging around your finances. Like for some of you, maybe you've been going through a divorce and it's just like acknowledging how much of your resources that took from you. Maybe you had to pay something out, you had to pay out in a lawsuit or something like that. And that could be gripping your mind around, I can't believe I lost that money. Like they say when we ruminate on something or obsess on something, it doesn't just hurt one time, it hurts a million times. It's like the dagger that was stabbed into us around having to have that certain expense or having to deal with the dissolution of that marriage or of that business partnership. It's like we keep replaying it because we're like, I can't believe it cost that much. And it's just knowing there's a cost to being alive. Like sometimes we have certain taxes in life. Like we have a certain like lesson tax where it's like, yes, I went through this divorce and it was costly, but now I have this valuable knowledge that I will take with me. And yes, I did have to pay a tax in that. Sometimes we even have stupid taxes, which I always beat myself up when they occur, which is when you do something dumb and then you have to spend money in order to rectify it. And it's just like, like it's the stupid tax. Like, I can't believe I was so stupid. And again, my encouragement would be not to talk to yourself as cruelly as that. But sometimes there are just things where it's like, it sucks. This money could have been applied to many other arenas, but it is what it is. And sometimes you just got to acknowledge the money is gone and it can be remade. Like some of you might even be recovering from a bankruptcy or some sort of financial loss of some sort. And there is an energy around reminding yourself that money can be made back. The time that you waste obsessing or ruminating around your finances cannot. And so there even can be an energy around like, what if I lose my job? Or what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Which is really going to actively take away from your enjoyment of living. There is 20 million things that we could be panicking, freaking out about at any moment in time. And I say that not to add to it, but we could be freaking out around, oh my gosh, what if my house gets mold? We could be freaking out because it's like, oh my gosh, what if I get in a car accident? What if this? What if that? And it just kind of siphons our energy into this mental landscape of the what if, investing our energy into the worst case scenario. And when it comes to overthinking, it's so rare that we actually accurately predict the catastrophic incident that comes up. And it really doesn't prepare us for it. Like life is filled with things that are unpleasant and unexpected. And you have to find a relationship with that, with the things that are out of your control, because it will drive you crazy trying to control the uncontrollable and predict the unpredictable. And there can be an energy where you are navigating a grief that has left you with a lot of worry or anxiety. Maybe you are managing somebody else's estate. It feels to be something around inheriting something, getting something, and it taking a lot from you, draining a lot from you. And of course, if you're an executor of an estate, if you are helping somebody in planning for end of life services or something like that, it's not saying you can always necessarily walk away from it, but I am encouraging you to compartmentalize it a bit, especially if you feel that it is overtaking your life. So Pisces reminds us it's really not so serious. I know we're talking about the house of death, amongst other things. We'll get into other dimensions that could surface, but to a soul's perspective, it's really not that serious. Like none of us are getting out of this place alive. And I know while we're here, just like taxes and liens and bankruptcy and issues and problems, it can feel all consuming, but it's just like recognizing my soul's truth extends beyond all of this. And when I recognize that, I release the grip that these things have on me, where of course it's part of the human experience to participate in these sort of matters. But when I acknowledge my time here is finite, I shift my energy to want to focus more on how can I create heaven on earth? And you might be saying, how could I possibly create heaven on earth when it feels like the world that we are living in feels like a hellscape day to day? There is an energy to really dial into what you value, what you feel is divine, where you experience flow, where it is that you find meaning and help other individuals. Like that is how you create heaven on earth. And moving in the direction of that and just acknowledging the more energy that you invest in your fears and your anxieties, that's basically creating hell on earth. Like the more energy we put towards our worries and our problems, the more we see worries and problems everywhere that we go. The more that we put energy towards magic and miracles, the more we see magic and miracles everywhere that we go. And when we come back to the truth of our spiritual existence, we start to enjoy the experience of being a human around, okay, the world is not over just because I had to declare bankruptcy or just because I got divorced, right? Just because I'm going through some sort of massive transition within my life. The world is not over. And where is it that I can actually let these things free me towards this new beginning and moving towards the things that I find valuable and, enjoying the fruits of your labor or enjoying the sensual pleasures of being a human being, where North is transiting is your second house, which is around money and finances, hence a lot of my discussions around these topics. Yes, the purpose of life is not around walking into crystal shops and buying crystals, but I love walking into crystal shops and buying crystals, or I love being able to have different experiences. Like money is not the purpose, but it is a tool to leverage in order to experience different things. And there can be a nudge around this eclipse around wanting to put your money towards what it is that you value, to what it is that you find meaningful within this experience. And some of you might even have been like obsessively saving for a rainy day, and you might have this energy of flow around money at this time, where like typically I would hoard, save, and of course, this is not a financial channel, but I do think it's wise to save. But you might find around this time you're letting things flow to you. You are giving and receiving in equal measure. You're believing in an abundant world. And we receive in lots of different ways, not just monetarily, but there could be an energy where you're really wanting to be in the flow of money. And maybe before you would have just kind of like hoarded and saved for a rainy day around what if this happens, what if that happens? And you might just be wanting to enjoy the present moment and the beauty and the magic within it. You may be letting go of a stream of income or something that was supporting you. So you could feel disconnected from a trust fund or having your alimony, your child support adjusted, like I highlighted, going through a divorce, support that you were accustomed to may no longer be available. And it's important to know that when situations like this occur, of course, it's unpleasant. It's not ideal, but where can you see this from a spiritual perspective, a soulful perspective, in order to trust around the universe will provide, the universe will show me the way. And yes, sometimes money just shows up within our reality, but also know sometimes the universe provides by guiding you in the direction of jobs or of creative ideas that you can utilize to make money. We can't always just, sit back and be like, the universe has got me. Like sometimes the universe is like, yeah, we got you. We sent you all these ideas. We sent you that job posting. You got to show up. We do our work. You got to do your work. So there can be an energy like that transpiring. And sometimes when you no longer have the same streams of support available, of course, it's terrifying, but sometimes it helps you extract and enact more you out of you around stepping into your purpose, stepping into your calling even more so. And that also could be showing up in other arenas of life. Places where you used to rely on others, you might be stepping more into doing it on your own. Some of you are into the occult and wanting to dial into the hidden mysteries of this experience, which of course I'm a fan of. What channel are you on? Haley Comet Astrology. Of course, I'm into it. But what I'm not into is when we interact with these systems and we allow them to add to the negativity that we experience within this human experience. But what I'm not into is when we obsess and ruminate over these topics so much that it takes away from our experience here. One thing that you cannot change is your birth time. So I'm very conscious of that as an astrologer with my transits, with my readings. I don't think it does any of us good to look at a chart and feel like we are doomed and cursed. And sometimes if we already are in a more negative mind state, we will fundamentally ignore the positive attributes of our chart and zero in on the negative to allow our point of view to be validated. Around looking at the transits, I knew it. My world's going to end. I'm going to be cursed and doomed. And it's not that there are not negative transits or negative components to a birth chart, but it's so important how you interact with these systems, because I've seen a lot of people allow these systems to add to the anxiety and the neurosis that they're experiencing within this world because they feel like they're doomed and they're cursed and they don't show up within their reality. Again, North Node Pisces, when you peel it back, it's really not so serious. None of us are getting out of here alive. You have this particular chart, this soul unlock all that is within you. Tap into all of the skill sets that you have within. Create a life filled with things and people that you love. Earn money to spend on the things that you adore, to create heaven on earth, to indulge in the sensual pleasures of being a human being. Dial into the hidden secrets of the universe in any sort of modality, but really be mindful what you're feeding. Are you feeding the angel on your shoulder or the devil on your shoulder? Are you feeding building heaven on earth or experiencing hell on earth? And I don't mean this in terms of like good and evil. It's just like, what are you feeding within your life? Feed and prioritize what you can control, because obsessing over what you cannot is just going to add to the negativity. It's just going to pull more in. It's just going to feed that devil on the shoulder who's going to point out all of the ways that this current experience is hell. Whereas the more that you focus on what you can control and what feels good and what feels divine, the more you're feeding the angel on the shoulder who's pointing out all of the heavenly magic all around you. If the Virgo solar eclipse lands within the 9th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. Many of you may be Capricorn risings. Many of you may just have 29 degrees Virgo within your 9th house, but all of you are having this nudge around this eclipse to be here now. The best lived life is not the one that is methodically planned down to the minute, down to the hour. The best lived life is when you are surrendered to the present moment and you are interacting with the present moment as though you had chosen it. Even if you had not, you're surrendered to it around what can I learn from this? How can I make this work for me? What's the gift in this? It's not fighting against the present moment around it should be different, it should be this. It's surrendering to it around this moment is here. And how can I show up within it? There really is this nudge at this time to let go of how you thought that it was going to be in order to embrace how it is. And many of you are Capricorn risings, which means that your chart is ruled by Saturn. And so there can be some unpleasant, unsavory acknowledgments around this eclipse, around having to let go of that dream of grad school that you really wanted because it doesn't feel feasible at this particular moment in time, or having to push back a trip of some sort, or recognizing that you don't have the resources to take some sort of trip. And a lot of these things can be crushing, right, to the soul, especially if it was part of our plan around, it was always my plan to go to grad school. It was always my plan to be able to travel for a year. And it just is what it is. Taking on the mentality it is what it is can honestly be medicinal. And especially during eclipse season, because it's like we just don't see where things are going and evolving. Some of you may have to walk away from some sort of travel opportunity, academic opportunity, something like this. But it's really feeding the mindset of, what if this is all working out for me? Because if it happens around eclipse, it absolutely is. I want to just briefly share that I had a big plan where I was going to renovate this place and I was going to spend most of my year abroad. In Bali, to be specific. So much so that I talked about it with my friends. I put it on my vision board. It was like 2025 in my mind was the year of going to Bali. And I had certain transits that verified that this very well could occur. I had Jupiter trine Jupiter. It really felt like something that was building in the ethers. And maybe one day that will come into alignment, but it was like every time I'm trying to plan for this trip abroad, I met so much resistance, so much struggle, so much strife, trying to make this happen, trying to bring this to life. And my friends, people around me would be like, when are you going to Bali? When you're going to Bali? I guess I'm not. It felt like efforting. You know, the universe speaks to us in terms of energy and vibration. And it's not that our reality does not require us to show up and to work hard at times, but it was like I was experiencing so many obstacles every time I tried to put energy towards it that it just started feeling heavy. And I was like, okay, universe, I guess you don't want me to go to Bali? Like what? Nothing went right in reference to putting energy towards that direction. So I surrendered. And this eclipse for many of us is a surrender around, okay, universe, we tried my way. Show me your way if you have a better idea. And let me tell you, the universe did have a better idea. The months that I was meant to be gone for Bali were some of the happiest months that I've ever had in the city that I live in. I actually ended up turning my weekly astrology podcast show, Magic Monday, I turned it into a podcast. I built this set. I invested in all new equipment. And I also just had so much fun. I got to spend so much time with my friends. I got to go on short-term journeys, which may be alive for you with North Node Pisces in 3rd house. We'll talk about it. And my long distance travel across the country did not happen, but that's okay. Like I look back and I see that everything unfolded as it was meant to. And I had my plan, Bali, but the universe has its. And I remember at the time I was like, I can't stay in San Diego. I need something different. But the universe was like, just you wait and see. Because it's like the events that I've gotten to work, the activities of what I've gotten to do, the experiences that I've had. It's like, it was the best summer ever. Not the one that I thought it was going to be, but the best summer ever. And the universe is cooking something up for you just like that. So even if you are let down about something, a certain plan, a certain vision that you had is not coming to pass, there's an energy with North Node Pisces, surrender into this present moment as though you had chosen it. And again, this is in the 9th house, which is far away lands, which is why I told you about my Bali plan. So some of you could have that where you idealize, if only I was elsewhere, I want to run away from my life. Because that was part of why I think I want to go to Bali, is I wanted to run away from my life. And I think when it comes to eclipses, yes, it is a time for changes and shifts, but you never want to make a change because of what you're running away from. You want to run towards something. And sometimes we don't know what that is because North Node Pisces is a little murky. It's a little mysterious, but you want to run towards a feeling. And it's like I was so encapsulated in just kind of like the pain that I was navigating that I was like, anywhere but here, because this is where the pain is. And I think there is a nudge with this eclipse around everywhere that you go, there you are. So if you find that you romanticize around, if only I was at grad school, if only I was at this retreat, if only I was here, if only I was there, it's knowing you will take yourself wherever you go. And traveling is an amazing experience. Academic experiences are amazing. Spiritual retreats are amazing. I'm not saying that these will not be part of your overall life journey, but there might be an energy around surrendering. Hey, it's not this year. I tried to apply for this program. I got denied. Hey, must be next year. Or I tried to make these plans to travel abroad. Didn't work out. Hey, it wasn't for me at this time. Can I take some short-term journeys to visit some of my friends? I tried to be a speaker at this particular presentation. They didn't select me. Okay, I guess I'll go get this certification. You gotta bob and weave with the universe. You gotta be able to shift and pivot because sometimes things orchestrate in the most beautiful way where it's like, of course I had to go to grad school next year. I met my soulmate. Or of course I wasn't a speaker at that conference. The weekends of this conference would correspond with my friend's wedding. Like you just never know how the universe is orchestrating things and aligning things perfectly. And you experience more of that the more that you flow into it, the more that you have utmost trust within it and just bob and weave with the universe and with what is unfolding right now. And with the energy of this in the 9th house, there also could be a holier than thou perspective that you are releasing. If you are someone who's very spiritual, if you're very religious, and all humans sometimes experience judgment, but you might find at this time that you're really releasing judging other people. Maybe there was an energy within your religion or within your spirituality. You judge people who choose to live in a certain way or show up in a certain way. And there might be a nudge around this eclipse around recognizing when I point the finger at somebody else, there's all of these fingers pointing back at me. None of us are perfect. None of us are flawless. None of us really have the moral high ground to judge another individual, whether that's showing up in reference to your spirituality, in reference to your faith, or in other arenas of life. You could be letting go of this idea of judgment. And some of you may even be walking away from religion, spirituality, especially if you find that it adds to you shaming yourself, judging yourself, worrying around things, like really wanting to dial into a spirituality that makes you feel more connected to your neighbors and those around you with North Node and Pisces rather than more separate. So you even could be walking away from some sort of organization where you felt more separate from other individuals or more ingrained with judgment and criticism rather than love, unconditional love with the energy of North Node Pisces. Really wanting your spirituality to be something that is grounded and lived within your daily life. If the Virgo solar eclipse lands within the 10th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. Many of you may be Sagittarius risings. Many of you may just have 29 degrees in Virgo. But either way, this reading is for you. This message is for you. And the emphasis for you, this Virgo solar eclipse, is really around letting go of caring what other people think about you. There's just an energy where you are more dialed in and focused around what is sacred to you, your home, your beliefs, even just the way of life, like the way you want to flow through your life. You may be resisting anything that makes you feel like your freedom is limited. I mean, imagine that. Sagittarius rising. You could just be in this energy where you're just like, oh, I want to be able to take my kids to the park on a random Tuesday, or I want to be able to meditate in the morning. Like, you could be really resisting people trying to tell you what to do, or even just having a certain career or job that makes you be somewhere at a certain time, or where you have to do things in accordance to how other people want you to do them. Like, you might just be resisting that. Your body could even just be repelling your current work right now, or just being told what to do. Oh, I just want to flow. I just want to be able to do what I want when I want. Is that too much to ask? And you might have some sort of situation arise around September 21st, but the story has been building before this, around recognizing something within your working world is not aligning for you. It's not feeling right. It's not clicking. It's not feeling good. And there just could be an energy of potentially walking away from it for some. Some of you might be at a breaking point as it relates to a boss or someone who tries to micromanage you or tell you what to do, or at a breaking point around feeling like you have to do exactly what your customers, your clients want you to do. That will take the creative energy out of anything, is feeling like you have to create things of what other people want you to do. And if you are somebody who has been a perfectionist around work and tried to give people what they wanted and do all the right things, and then recognizing that it was only met with more criticism and more dissatisfaction, you might reach a point where you're like, fine, I tried to do it your way. I want to do it my way. If I'm going to show up here, I want to be able to do it in a way that feels right for me and not what other people think I should be doing. Because again, when we create or we serve or we show up in this lens of what other people need, of course, we want to be of service. We want to be helpful for others, but it does take the enjoyment out of it when you are simply showing up in response to what is needed from you, rather than being able to really participate, whether that's creatively, whether that's as a leader. It's a delicate balance because, of course, if you're running a business, you need clients and customers and media activity and what have you. But I'm just seeing an energy around this where you're just like, I have been chasing and hustling, trying to give everybody what they want. And I did it. And now it's still not enough. And I'm not even enjoying it. And there is a magical place where all of these things correspond, where you are of service, where you are giving people what they want, and where you enjoy it. And I just feel like that's what's shifting, is you're like, I will show up. I will be of service. A lot of you are Virgo midheavens. I will do this, but I want to do it on my own terms. And I'm really recognizing what feels heavy. Because you might even be making decisions from that around a certain opportunity comes in, whether it's a freelance opportunity or a business opportunity, something that may support your public status. And you might just be really trusting your gut or like your intuition around, this would be a good opportunity, but it just feels like a no. Or this would have been an opportunity that younger me would have loved, but it just doesn't feel right. And you never know how the universe is protecting you through that. Even if something looks good on paper, even if it would be helpful around your career, nothing is worth going against your soul. And your higher self, your soul, your intuition is plugged into knowledge that you are not aware of. So if you get a certain nudge around a promotion comes in, you're like, oh, it feels off, or some sort of new position comes in, or a business opportunity, and something feels off, trust that. Okay, very much trust what is transpiring here. I'm seeing for some of you, you may be walking away from a career path that you thought would be it for you. It was part of your plans. This is what I'm going to do. And there might be an element of disillusionment around, this is not what I envisioned with this solar eclipse opposite Neptune. And sometimes we don't know it until we get down into it. We don't know something's not a right fit until we're there, day 20, and we're like, ooh, something's not feeling right. And it's important not to judge yourself. I think South Node Virgo is asking all of us to release judgment. And it's important to know, no one said it. This journey of life needs to be a straight line. This life contains detours. Think of a road trip. It's exhausting going from point A to point B. Sometimes we stop at random stops, some better than others, but it makes the journey more interesting. And you never know how all of those pivots, I'm speaking mostly career-wise with this in the 10th house, you never know how all of those pivots will lead you towards a big picture. I want to share, my mom is a Sagittarius rising, like many of you, and this eclipse is landing in her 10th house, and she's retiring. So some of you may be retiring, letting go of a certain career path. But I bring her up because she's had a lot of really random jobs, and the job she's in currently and planning to retire from relatively soon. I don't know exactly the specifics, but it is on the horizon. So that also could be the case for some of you. But when it comes to her current position, she considers it her dream job. and she pulls elements from all of the jobs that she had prior into this job, where she had a random detour here and pivot here. And again, the human mind would deem these things as failures or wastes of time, but you never know how you're being prepared, how you might arise to a certain position that pulls from all of your different detours. And so it's not keeping yourself imprisoned by the blueprint of how you thought that it should be. Allow it to be as it is. And some of you could be walking away from wanting to work as hard, or walking away from your job in order to spend more time with family. Some of you could be moving closer to family, or you could be really taking care of your parents, or something like that could also be happening, where your priority is not necessarily around how am I being perceived, how to get ahead. And it's okay if you feel that within yourself around, I'm just less motivated to put my energy here. I want to feel good. I want to feel happy. I want to feel joyful. And I don't want to put energy towards any sort of career path that feels more laborious than it needs to, or like I have to perform, or I have to be perfect. And I'm even just seeing outside of work, there just could be this energy where it's like, I don't care how my life looks. I want to dial into what it feels like. So even if there's been an energy of feeling like you had to keep your reputation spotless, or feel like you had to perform in the public eye, or keep a certain status within the world at large, you could just be like, life is too short to feel like I need to project this image of perfection. What would it look like if I could just be me, and be me as the divine made me? And my last note, I do want to mention that 10th house has to do with authority figures. Some of you could have a situation with a boss that reaches a bit of a breaking point. They micromanage, they try to tell you what to do. Some of you could even be healing from some sort of like workplace trauma or something like this, or a boss who is very toxic, whose words and verbiage really made its way into your mind. Sometimes when we leave environments that are harmful, we could be like, okay, well, physically I'm not there, but North Node Pisces asks us to remember the spiritual and emotional components of our being, where it's like, yes, you're not physically there anymore, but that did emotionally affect you or psychologically affect you. And around this time, you could be putting in some sort of barrier. So if there's someone from work who's been contacting you, even though you don't work there, there could be an energy around, shutting that door to communication. If people that you used to work for or around are still on your social media or something like this, you could be unfollowing them and having them unfollow you. You could even just be putting your pages on private altogether. Not that 10th house explicitly is related to social media, but it is around how you're perceived in the outer world. And I'm just seeing there's just an energy where it's like, I don't need validation. My validation is not around clicks on my Instagram post and people seeing what I'm up to. Like, I'm living my life and I'm wanting to create a life that's worth living, not just documenting. So there also just could be an energy around not feeling as enticed to keep up with the Joneses or to show everybody what you're up to, unless it's coming from a place of like genuine love. You don't need that validation from the outside world, is what feels like is aligning within your chart. If the Virgo solar eclipse lands within the 11th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. You may be a Scorpio ascendant. You may just have 29 degrees Virgo in the 11th house, but either way, this message is for you. And this eclipse story has a lot to do with your friendships, your community, your hopes and dreams and ambitions at large. There's a couple of different storylines that you may see yourself within. The first, some of you are letting go of deal friends. My mentor once told me, you have your real friends and your deal friends. Like, your real friends are the ones who are there with you in the various cycles and seasons of your life. And your deal friends are there when they feel like they can get something from you. They could make a deal with you, something like this. And you have to be able to distinguish that. And sometimes our soul clocks it, and then you're a Scorpio rising, so I know that you're intuitive. Like, your soul clocks it around, this is not genuine. But sometimes our mind is like, well, it makes sense. They're in your industry. You've known them for so long, or something like this. And sometimes that can override our soul being like, something doesn't quite feel right. It's very eye-opening how people can treat you differently or switch up, especially if they realize that they could gain something from you. I've had multiple experiences over the past year, and to be so clear, I'm not here stating that I am something, nothing like that, but it's just been interesting. I've had multiple experiences with people where they treated me one way before, they found my online accounts or knew that I had somewhat of an online presence, and treated me totally different after they learned that information. And that really shook me and shocked me to my core, because that's not how I move and how I operate. I would never treat someone differently because I felt like I could get something from them. And that's what I have to conclude from those experiences, to go from being very rude to me to being like sugary sweet, syrupy sweet, and happening to mention that you found this and that account. What's the switch up about? Because I'm still a valuable human being, even if I'm not online. And I don't think that makes you valuable in the slightest. It was just odd, because these are individuals who wanted to do more of that. And when they recognized that I had a little bit of success in that, they saw me as a potential tool to get them closer to what they want, rather than a human being. You just got to be mindful of people like that. And I was still kind, friendly to these individuals, but I clocked it and I noticed it. And I'm not necessarily going to allow myself to get too close to those sort of individuals who switched up. People are quick to switch up, and you can keep it cute. You know, there's an energy around this eclipse. For those of you who are Scorpio risings, your traditional ruler is Mars, who is sitting at the 29th degree of Libra. So, of course, your ruler is not dignified at this particular moment in time, which sometimes can be uncomfortable. But the energy of Mars in Libra is around, I'm going to get my way with charm, with charisma, and I don't need to necessarily create a whole conflict or an issue here. I'm just going to observe it. Like, I'm just going to be like, okay, I saw your true colors. Noted. And again, it may not have to do with social media for you. You just might notice that around other arenas, around, oh, I helped you out when you were financially struggling and now I am, and it's different. Or, oh, you were rude to me, but now I got this promotion at work and now you're syrupy sweet. It's like people telling themselves all the time. And so some of you might just have one of those, oh, moments where you create a little bit of distance, and it doesn't need to be a lash out. It doesn't need to be a crash out. Okay. Sometimes it's just, I see it. I see you. Got it. Message clear. And I'm just not going to get too close to you, because you've proven to be a deal friend and not a real friend. And like I said, it's like the energy of Virgo is around our plan. So you might have had certain people where it's like, this is going to be my bridesmaid. This is going to be my best man. And sometimes the script changes where it's like, okay, I thought you were going to be the sidekick within the movie of my life, but clearly now the role has switched up and you're the enemy, and I can let that go. Things unfold that is not according to plan. What I don't want you to do is cling and resist a change, because it's like, well, you're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. They've shown you who they are. Believe them. Believe them. And just allow them to recast themselves within the movie of your life, even if that was not according to plan. I see some of you are creating distance from your work colleagues. Like, I just feel some of you are reaching this place where you're like, these are not my friends. Maybe some of you have been like opening up to certain workplace colleagues. You've gotten drinks with them, or there's someone in your industry who's been asking lots of questions. And again, it's situational, and I trust you are very intuitive, but there just could be an energy where you recognize like, okay, I need some distance here. Like, this person was like asking me all these questions. I shared, and now I see that they created an offering exactly like mine. Or I spilled too much at this happy hour because I was 3 Mai Tais deep, and now I'm being called into the office and my boss knows this intimate information. I wonder how they got that information. I'm not saying we need to navigate life paranoid, but it just is important to be conscious and to just like recognize the different categories people play within your life. And this doesn't need to be depressing. In fact, I've found that it's provided me so much peace within my life once I learned that you're allowed to categorize people, you're allowed to compartmentalize people. I don't mean that in a cruel way, a transactional way. I've just experienced so much more peace when I stop trying to expect everybody to be everything, and I start just acknowledging the role that they play within my life. For example, work friends can just be work friends, and maybe those are not the people that you open up around what's happening within your relationship. Or party friends can just be party friends, and those don't have to be the people who are there for you and your riders when things are going down. It helps to quantify it as such so you're not let down when you're trying to have a deep conversation with a party friend. It's just appreciating the divinity of who people are and what they show you around, this is a friend who's amazing for deep conversations and movies. This is a friend who I call when I need to go out. This is a friend that I could vent to about work stuff. This is a friend that I could do this. But I understand that may be very challenging for you because a lot of you are Scorpio risings and you really value depth from your connections. You might be like, Haley, Comet, that feels superficial. You get to decide who is in your movie, right? So if you find, I'm not liking what you're giving me, like I don't think I have room in my life for a party friend, you have the full agency to decide to put some distance there. That's really what I see for you with the solar eclipse. It doesn't feel like an all-out fight, a disagreement. It just feels like, noted, I'm just going to put some distance here. And you get to decide what you do that. And if you want the role that this person is auditioning within your life, it's just important with North Node Pisces to really see where it is that we can radically accept ourselves and those around us. So it's like if you're trying to force your party friend to have deep conversations with you, it's a fruitless endeavor. You're just going to waste your own energy because people are who they are. And on that note, I feel like some of you might have been trying to fix or save a friend of yours who's going down a bad road, which is a beautiful thing to do. But at a certain point, you do have to acknowledge when somebody needs to do their own push-ups, they need to show up for their own life. And you cannot care about their well-being more than they care about their well-being. Like there can be an energy brewing like that, where again, it's not that you need to cut them out as a friend. You might just put some distance around, I cannot enable your bad behavior or the decisions that you're making. And it's not my job to. It's not my responsibility. South Node of Virgo is really that song. I hear it on TikTok. I'm sure it's elsewhere where it's like, that's not my problem. That's just not my problem. That is South Node in Virgo, because like a lot of times we take on problems that are not ours. And you just have to compartmentalize around that. It's not mine, not my circus, not my monkeys. That's the energy of this solar eclipse opposite Saturn, Neptune. This is not mine to take on. This is not mine to carry. No, thank you. And some of you, if you feel like you don't have friends, that might be what you're letting go of, this plan around you're meant to have a lot of friends, or this is what life is meant to look like. It's important to let go of what you thought that thing should be in order to embrace how it is. A lot of things are told to us and sold to us as normal. And it's important not to build your life around what movies, what society show. Like, build your own life. If you are someone who values just quality friendships, build in that direction. You do not need a huge friendship group. And also, you might be gaining a lot of perspective around what sort of people you want to be around. Honestly, with South and 11th house, you might be like, I don't really want to be around any of you people. You're being kind of weird right now. Maybe you're wanting to be more creative, do things that are fun, or those moments that you find flow, and you're less apt to want to be around a lot of people. You might be more sensitive to other people's energy, especially around these eclipses. I want to highlight that 11th house also has to deal with hopes and dreams. So you could be really letting go of the plans that you had for your life, and really in this space of surrender around, hey, how I thought things were going to go, it didn't work out, but let me see what the universe has in store. It's like the universe is basically like my turn. Like this eclipse might be this energy around, I tried and I tried and I tried and it didn't work out. And let me just surrender and see what the universe has in store. Let the universe have its turn. Like you had your turn, and it's beautiful to participate within your reality and work towards what it is that you want. But creating anything is that unique blend of hard work and opportunity. And you can work super hard, but hard work does not necessarily indicate the opportunity. Sometimes we have the opportunity that comes in, we're not prepared. We didn't do the hard work. Like it's such a blend of the practical Virgo and the mystical Pisces around opportunities. Where do they come from? Right place, right time. Like there's something mystical around it. And it's that blend of it where it's, of course, showing up, preparing, working towards it. But there's also matters that are outside of our control. Or it's like, I worked hard on this and then this opportunity just showed up. There are things being aligned and orchestrated for you right now that are so beautiful, you wouldn't even know to ask for them. And so there is an energy to surrender, as well as let go of fear of the future, I'm just seeing, or worrying and analyzing your life rather than living it. You're being asked to flow, have fun, see the divinity that is around you, create, spend time with your children if you have them, heal your own inner child, and really just recognize that life is here to be lived, not planned. If the Virgo solar eclipse lands within the 12th house of your astrological natal chart, this message is for you. You may be a Libra rising, you may not be a Libra rising, but for you, this eclipse alignment is asking you to surrender. It's really asking all of us to surrender, but especially you. With this eclipse landing in the 12th house, which governs isolation and self-undoing, either way, this eclipse is asking you to show up. You know, we have North Node in Pisces, which is very divine. It's very mystical. Yet, it's transiting your 6th house, which is around your daily efforts, your labor, your small animals participating within this experience. You are being guided to release any sort of habit that takes you out of this experience. You are being asked to show up, to participate in your fate. Yes, with North Node Pisces, divinity, spirit works in our life every day, every way, but we do have to show up for it. The universe can give us all of the helpers, all of the ideas, all of the advice, but we have to do it. And that's what you're being guided to do at this time. If you get a divine idea, act upon it. If you get a nudge to help someone, do it. If you get a stirring that you want to open an animal shelter, do it. Like, there's just an energy around recognizing you are a spiritual being having this human experience, and that all of the downloads and the epiphanies and the intuitive hits are useless if we do not do something about it to answer the call of where the universe could be trying to work through you. You know, I'm just seeing with this energy, you could be like an angel in other people's lives, like getting that nudge around, somebody on the side of the road, their car broke down, and going to help them. Like, you are an angel within that person's life. Or if there's somebody crying in the bar bathroom and you comfort them, like, you never know where it is that you could be of service, not just with your physical body and labor, but also with your energy, with your presence. And so the first message is really around, if you get a nudge, if you get a download, act upon it and release anything that takes you out of this experience. The eclipse and the South Node is in the 12th house, which is around isolation. So some of you, due to your anxiety, your worry, what you've been dealing with lately, you've been isolating quite a bit. You could be self-soothing, self-medicating. And it's important to know that we are here for a reason. You are here for a reason. You have a particular purpose. I don't know if some of you have been getting really existential and just within your own head, but there is an ask to go outside, to look people in the eyes, to pet cats, to volunteer, to do things that keep you very in the world. You know, inertia says an object stationary will stay stationary, an object in movement will continue moving, and you're being asked to keep moving. I'm even seeing that physically as well. There's been a little phrase on social media lately that depression can't hit a moving target. Like, if you stay moving, of course, mental health is real, but it does help to move your body and just have this energy of movement around. If you find that too much alone time sends you into a darker place, or doing a lot of movement. I actually read the other day that recent research just found that when we work out, there's something that is released that they were calling like the hope chemical, because it fundamentally has an effect on our body that works somewhat like an antidepressant. If I find it, I'm going to just drop it in here because I'm not clear on the science of it. But it is important to know that movement helps. And when it comes to mental health, one of the best ways to get us out of a dark place is to be of service to others. So I would really encourage to see where it is that you can volunteer, where it is that you can help out, just knowing that you are needed and necessary on this planet. And to know that sometimes when we're in that space where we're just hermiting and we're isolating and we're obsessing, that breeds more of the same. And it takes so much energy, it takes so much oomph to like get out the door or start busying your schedule or things like that. But once you do, you can find that you just have less time to ruminate, to obsess, to overindulge in substances. Wherever this energy shows up, I'm just seeing this energy around stay busy. And some of you are listening to this and you're like, Haley, Comet, I could not possibly be more busy. My schedule is packed to the brim. And my encouragement here would be, remember to find the meaning in what you do. Sometimes this combination, Virgo 12th house, it could be like, what's the point of anything? It could get very existential. And so it's important to know, like, because I showed up to work, these individuals got their coffee today. They got their caffeination. They got a little bit of energy and joy. Because I showed up to volunteer today, I was able to read stories to other people within the elderly folks' home. Because I got out of bed today, my cat got to eat. Like, it's just remembering the bigger picture. And that could also be medicinal around just finding a sense of hope and meaning within your everyday. There also can be an energy around recognizing the reality of your mental health, your psychological health, and really wanting to do something in order to rectify it, whether it is seeking out support of some kind or seeking out medication of some kind, seeking out different routines that will help with it. There's an energy of Virgo that's very much around analysis paralysis, and that imprisoning you with the energy of 12th house. And that could be showing up just overall overthinking, planning out and obsessing around your life rather than living it. But it also could be showing up in this case around this energy of, well, if I do this, then this could happen, or that won't work. And it's just around, okay, I've got to do something. What's one thing I can do in order to improve my state of mind and my overall health altogether? And where can I release what keeps me stuck or what keeps me hidden away? Some of you are releasing fears around being seen. You're a bit of a perfectionist. And so you could feel like if I put myself out there, if I ask for this promotion at work, if I start showing up for this side hustle, if I try to be a fitness instructor at my gym, other people are going to critique me, potentially as harshly as I critique myself. So I'd rather stay hidden. And there's an energy to release that, to release this notion of perfectionism, to release any sort of neurosis that has kept you hidden away, that has made you trapped. I just see this energy of the Eight of Swords card within tarot, if you read tarot, and it's like being trapped by circumstances, and it represents being trapped by our own thoughts. And so some of you have internal monologues that are very critical, that are very hard on you, that are very perfectionistic, and not all of that is yours, and that could be actively self-sabotaging you. You are also being guided this time to release any sort of habits that are leading to your self-undoing. Every single day, you can make decisions to align with the light or to align with your higher self. And if we don't make that daily decision to do so, oftentimes we are making that decision to align with, sorry to be intense, but the dark, or to align with who we've been. It's like making that decision to align with the light, to connect to your higher self, to make decisions that move you in that direction, to allow your habits and your routines and rituals to mirror that of your higher self, the individual that you are wanting to embody. Because if we just live our life on autopilot, if we don't make that decision, oftentimes we do find ourselves feeding the darkness within our life or just staying stuck. And you're being asked to show up. You know, when we're in a very hopeless, dark space, we don't show up. It's like, what's the purpose if I go to the gym or not? What's the purpose if I go to work or not? Like sometimes it's like, what's the purpose of anything? And North and Pisces is asking us to find the purpose. Again, those looking for purpose will find it. Those looking for meaning will find it. Those looking for magic will find it. And knowing that the dark forces of this world will want to convince you that you are hopeless, that your efforts are fruitless, that there's no point to anything. And when you connect to your higher self and your soul's mission, you see how all of these small efforts add up to something bigger. And it's just striving to embody your higher self, striving to grow rather than to decline, striving to let go of any habit that keeps you stuck. Because sometimes when we're in that more hopeless state of mind, we overindulge. We do things to numb. We do things to dissociate because it's like, well, what's the point? There is a point. You are here for a reason. Do not believe your thoughts when it tries to convince you of things like this. And so some of you could be letting go of certain habits, whether it's like you've been sleeping for 16 hours a day, you've been binge drinking or something like this. You could be releasing these habits in order to show up for this reality, to know that your life has purpose. You have purpose. So my loves, this Virgo solar eclipse is about celestial surrender. This is about letting go of how you thought that it should be in order to embrace how it is, no matter how bittersweet that may be, no matter how disillusioning that may be. There's an ask to let go of your plan in order to surrender to the divine's plan, which, P.S., is even more beautiful than anything that we could have concocted or dreamt up. There's an ask to look at every situation, no matter how challenging it may be, in the lens around how is this growing me? How is this teaching me? How is this setting me up? And even if I cannot see it at this time, how can I trust in the bigger picture and that this setback truly is my setup from the universe? So I'd love to know, which house does the Virgo solar eclipse land in for you? Have you already been feeling the themes build in that arena? My Instagram handle is @HaleyCommentAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would also love to connect with you over there. Thank you so much for stopping by my cosmic corner of the internet. Again, if you are new to my channel, check out some of my other all signs forecasts here, as well as my weekly astrology podcast. It's called Magic Monday. You can find episodes on YouTube as well as anywhere where you stream podcasts. But until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.